Hello, welcome to a very spooky episode of House of R. I'm Joanna Robinson. Joining me today, our very own tough cookie on the drums. It's Mallory Rubin.
Joanna, never play 2 nights in Detroit.
You never know what's going to happen. You might end up with a broken orbital bone. Listen, it's the Vampire Lestat time. It is Interview with the Vampire Season 3, a.k.a. the Vampire Lestat. We're here to break it down for you with book context. We'll do a book spoiler section. We'll talk about the music. We'll talk about the fashion. We'll talk about all of it right after this.
This episode of House of R is presented to you by Target. For 30 years, Pokemon has shown that adventures are better together, and Target is calling all trainers to the celebration.
That's because there's something for every era of fan in the Pokemon and Target limited time collection.
Thought you found them all after the first drop? Think again.
Drop 2 just landed, featuring life-size Pokemon puzzles and an instant print digital camera.
The entire collection is in store and online, so check it out now.
Explore now at Target.com. Just really quickly, I just thought in honor of the absolute bi-icon that is Lestat They. Happy Pride, everyone.
Happy Pride.
What a perfect show for us to cover during Pride Month. So
I love it.
Here we are. Program reminders.
Yes.
The end of this week. We're starting with vampires.
That's right.
We're ending with aliens? Question mark?
Well, we'll find out.
It's Disclosure Day.
Yeah.
Are you excited?
I am.
Okay.
I'm very excited.
We're going to talk about Disclosure Day at the end of the week. Very excited about that. We have seen it.
Yes.
We'll be talking about it. This is the first episode of Vampire Lestat coverage, but it is not the last because I have bullied the entire team into covering the Vampire Lestat week to week.
I'm excited.
And they're all doing it with joy in their hearts.
Yeah, genuinely. It's going to be great.
We've got another Nolan episode coming up with another very special guest that
we're
excited about.
We're trying to squeeze one more in before Hot D starts, and that will leave us with just one.
Just Oppenheimer left after that.
Before the Odyssey.
Dark Knight Rises, then Oppenheimer, then it's Odyssey time.
It would have been funny to flip those and do Oppenheimer and then end on Bane.
Yeah.
Just to really keep the bit
just
going.
Just to reinforce your whole... your 5-year-long agenda.
Yeah, that's longer than that. It's just 5 years on this podcast.
5 years as far as I know. House of the Dragon.
That's right. Soon. I can't believe it. I can't believe it's June. I'm very excited.
It's very exciting. We're going to have an incredible summer because we're doing vampires and dragons. And guess what? Spoiler alert, incest for both.
Oh, yeah.
Exciting stuff.
A lot of movies coming out this summer.
Supergirl, The Odyssey, Spidey, a 2.5-hour-long Spider-Man movie.
I did see
exciting.
That. Yeah.
Very exciting. Yeah. Before we get into, and we do want to apologize. We know that there was like a final House of the Dragon trailer that was dropped.
Yes. I was in Sweden. Sorry.
Mallory was in Sweden. She was off the hook, and I did not have it within me to try to find like the 2 remaining producers stateside to record a solo pod.
Almost the entire team was in Sweden. So we had locked in programming 6 weeks before that trip. It was very, very difficult, genuinely, to make late stage adjustments. But great news, we did full breakdowns of the prior 2 trailers. So if you're like, what do you guys think of the trailer?
Those pods exist.
We really loved the most recent trailer. Yeah. There's a quick update. We thought it was great. Our hype level was already high. It's even higher now. Great. We went beat by beat for the prior 2 trailers. So check out those pods if you haven't yet. They're waiting for you. Great news.
Where can folks find all of those things, including discovering what I'm wearing on this podcast?
I mean, this is
a very normal thing that I've done. A very normal... in honor of the Vampire Lestat, normal work clothing.
Now, I had been treated, I will answer your question about where people can find it, but I had been treated to a glimpse via text message, which was resplendent and majestic, but nothing could have prepared me for the absolute majesty of seeing you in person, bedecked in full for the Vampire Lestat, your most anticipated show of the summer. You look like a rock goddess. Now, it's always giving rock goddess.
I'm not sure that's
You've done something different with your hair.
My hair is different.
It's just incredible.
Yeah, my hair is different, but the nerdy glasses are still here, and I'm not sure the Vampire Lestat would be caught dead.
I think those are pretty hip, and I think being a nerd is pretty hip. Let me just throw that out there. Yeah.
Where can all the hip nerds find us?
Here's what I'd recommend. Follow the pod. Follow House of R on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. You can watch full video episodes of House of R on Spotify. Incredible. And the Ringerverse YouTube channel. So follow that as well. Also, newish Instagram, TikTok, at House of R Pod. It's popping over there. Follow along if you haven't yet. We've been having a blast. You can see Joanna's Get Up today on the video episode of the podcast, but also there will be some glimpses on social media for sure.
Mallory has procured some props for us.
Well, I knew you had like a whole custom fit, so I said, what can I do? And then rush ordered some plastic, very cheap fangs that I'm sure will like destroy our mouths as we take a picture, and then hopefully we can heal in time for the Disclosure Day pod. So that's what I would recommend. And of course, the inbox is always open, hobbitsanddragons@gmail.com. Send us your emails on Vampire Lestat, Hot D, Disclosure Day, Nolan, anything, everything, all of it.
Before we get into more of the Vampire Lestat, we want to take a moment to talk about a person who's very important to us, who just passed away, Anthony Stewart Head, who played Giles on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, among many other things. When he passed away, I got the number of messages I thought I would get from people who know that I am a lifelong Buffy fan.
Yeah.
But also the number of people who are like, is Mallory okay?
I love him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We both love Giles. We want to honor him. We got these beautiful stickers from Jacob, who works on the show. Brought us these My Heart Belongs to Daddy Giles stickers before Anthony Stewart. He got them for us before Anthony Stewart had passed away. But we have them now. Talk about Giles and what this means for you.
So when my flight landed from Sweden, I returned to the United States of America, landed in LAX, and you're loading your phone, how many messages will load, how many won't load, how many have I missed over these 22 hours of travel, etc. Yeah. First alert I saw from multiple people, our thread with Carlos and Arjuna. First thing Adam had texted me about was all the news. So that was just like, you let out an audible gasp. Very sad, very awful. We've had the pleasure now of covering 4 seasons of Buffy together. We're still in the midst of our watch. And as you know, as the bad babies know, I have just fallen so completely in love, not only with Giles, but with Anthony Head, because it's just such a completely captivating performance. And it's obviously just like tremendously sad. I think one of the strange things about loss when it's like a public figure, right? Yeah. Somebody who you as a viewer or a listener, whatever the case may be, a reader, have a deep attachment to, is that you feel this grief and you see then that other people who love that fictional universe, who love the performance, feel that way too. And there's something shared about that. And then, of course, you see what the loss means to everybody who knew him. And that was just so, it's deeply sad. It's very moving, but there is, of course, an element amid the despair of like celebrating the impact that he had on everybody. And so to see the tribute posts from all of the members of the cast who not only loved him, but clearly learned so much from him, to see what a formative figure he was in shaping their young careers and lives was like pretty remarkable to get to see.
Yeah, I think it was Sarah's post that really same as when Nick Brendan passed away, and it was Allison's post that really walloped me. Sarah's post really, really hit me hard. And I'm thinking about Sarah Michelle Gellar, and Allison Hannigan and James Marsters and David Boreanaz, who were all of varying ages. And Sarah had been doing soaps for a while, but this was her stepping into another level of something entirely. And the rest of them just an early major project for them. For David Boreanaz, his first acting project. Right. So for them to talk about him as this guiding Giles figure for them on set. Yeah. In addition to everything else. And then I was just thinking a lot about Giles and what he meant to me. I think, I've talked a lot about how I was the exact same age as Buffy when I was watching the show. And I don't have a great relationship with my parents, and it was definitely fraught when I was a teenager. And so I so relate, of all the things there's a lot that I don't have in common with Buffy, but the ability to find that sort of guiding light family figure inside of your faculty is something that I really, really related to as a teenager. And so just how important it was to see an example of the ability to find that kind of parental guidance and care and love even if you can't, even if your dad sucks and your mom is busy at the gallery a lot. So, it was, that's Buffy, not me. He's very, very important.
Yeah.
And I love how much you love him.
Yeah.
And I've loved, rediscovering him with you has been wonderful. And you haven't even met Michelle Trachtenberg's character, but between Michelle Trachtenberg and Nick Brendan and Anthony Stewart Head, it's just like a lot of loss inside of the Buffy community recently. So
I was thinking about that, knowing that dawn awaits in season 5, even though I don't have that experience yet. God, that's just tremendously sad. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you.
I know how much I saw your post about the photo that was like your
desktop photo in college.
Throughout college, and I've obviously texted you right away just because I know what a seismic and central presence he was in your life for so long and continues to be, and like just knowing how everybody has their own relationship to that character and the performance, but how much he means to so many people. And I love what you just said, and it's been one of the really great things to cover. Obviously, I just have like a tremendous crush on Giles, and he's very powerful in many respects. But, one of the things that's been such a joy to cover and to think about as I've watched the show for the first time is like the impact that he and Buffy have on each other and the way that they teach each other and the whole Scooby Gang, and that Giles is this mentor and this guide and this stalwart, but also he has as much to learn, and they're shaping him in turn. That's just been such a rewarding way to think about those relationships that can help kind of like root you throughout your life and guide you throughout your life. And the idea that like somebody who you're meant to learn from, like one of the things you can just learn is to like embrace your ability and your sense of purpose and then figure out what you want to do with that. It's just such like an empowering thing. So it's been really, really, really great to get to spend time with Giles and with this performance. And God, it's gonna be sad to
season 5
boot up season 5.
So thank you to all the Buffy fans who have been watching along with us.
Yes.
We'll be back at probably towards the end of summer, maybe in August with Buffy season 5 is the plan. So the rewatch continues. We just have some dragons and other vampires to get to in the meantime. Speaking of, I just want to shout out, I watched the Tony Awards last night because that's exactly the kind of person that I am. It's my favorite award show. And the Lost Boys musical really did quite well at the Tonys. And so it's vampire season, baby.
Wonderful.
We get a vampire hunter slayer reference inside of this episode. Spoiler warning for this episode.
Yes.
Almost all of our discussion today will be confined to what happens in this episode, informed by context from the books, The Vampire Lestat and Queen of the Damned, not to mention Interview with a Vampire, but no direct spoilers. And I'm relying on Mallory to like sort of curb my impulses there if she wants to.
I have no book knowledge in this case. It's an interesting experience. It's fun to be, and I guess if anybody is checking out this pod for the first time and didn't hear our gift exchanges, this to you is this is a sacred text, a big part of your life for a long time. The show has been one of your
seminal.
Indeed. Mm-hmm. You've been there from minute one for the show. I had not read the books. I had not seen the show, and I consumed seasons 1 and then 2 subsequent holidays as part of our gift exchange and annual tradition, and just loved the show. I thought it was just sensational. The writing is like God tier. The performances are wonderful. I really thought both seasons were excellent. I thought season 2 was like spectacularly good.
Yeah.
I still have not read any of the books, and so that is obviously different to how I typically am covering text on this pod. But I'm kind of looking forward to it a little bit. Actually, there's something very different about thinking of the experience exclusively through the lens of what I am consuming inside of each episode. So I did have a moment, as you know, because I said it on the pod. I like a week and a half ago, right before Sweden, I was like, should I read one of these books? It's kind of too late at that point, honestly. But maybe one day I still will. But I have not, and I'm already looking forward. Like I said, after the season 2 gift exchange, like I'm already excited to like rewatch the show and spend more time with it, kind of again and again, because especially just the richness of
it really
the language
a rewatch. It really, really does. And even this episode, we'll talk about it, of course, in depth. But I appreciated it. Every subsequent watch I did of this episode, I appreciated it more. So we'll be doing book context.
Yes.
I have some book passages to read today, et cetera, et cetera. But we will do like a brief book spoiler section at the end. Mallory has given me permission And we had like a long back and forth about this, but she has given me full permission to spoil her about some like future book stuff that I know the fans are really eager to talk about as it pertains to this episode. So we will be doing a book spoiler section. You will hear an audio cue.
Carlos has yet to decide which audio cue.
Will it be a saucy guitar riff? Will it be a like Dracula like, whoa?
What about just the sound of like sucking blood?
Sucking something. You know?
Plenty of options presented in this episode of television alone.
All right.
Vodka bottle.
Let's do a vodka bottle. Did you enjoy the flash of the literal vodka bottle that we got during the sex montage later?
Incredibly important. Yeah.
So book context for the most part, book spoiler section at the very end. We'll warn you before we do that.
Yes.
Quick facts. Anne Rice's Vampire Chronicles. I'm not going to go through the whole list, but I'll just say Interview with the Vampire came out in 1976. The Vampire Lestat, which is the main source text for this show, came out in 1985. Queen of the Damned, which is sort of also seeded into this season, 1988. Tale of the Body Thief, 1992. And then we get Memnoth the Devil, 1995. The Vampire Armand, 1998. I don't know, on and on and on and on, up through 2018 was the last one. I don't know
recent
what the plans are, like, that depends entirely on like ratings and contracts and stuff like that. I don't know that I've heard, maybe he has, and maybe you guys can email us at hobbitsanddragons@gmail.com if Roland Jones has talked about how far into the series he wants to go. But I think he's planning to go at least up through book 4, which is quite exciting.
Okay.
This show, The Vampire Lestat, a rebranded season 3 of Interview with the Vampire.
Yes.
AMC Sunday nights, but it's got that AMC Plus like really fun / annoying like midnight drop on Saturday. So by the time you wake up on Sunday, plenty of people will have watched the episode, but it airs on AMC on Sunday nights. 7 episodes set in 2025 and the 18th century and some unspecified future date, wherever else we may go.
Right.
And it picks up not too long after Interview with the Vampire season 2 concludes.
Right.
At least in the 2025 timeline.
Yes.
And as I mentioned, based on both The Vampire Lestat and Queen of the Damned. Any questions, comments, or concerns about what I've said thus far?
No, I don't think so. Do you have a sense of like how many people are watching in real time? How many people have AMC Plus?
Right. It's a great question. I mean, we got emails when I woke up. We had emails from people who had already watched the episode, and that's when I realized that it was a midnight Saturday drop, and I was like, aha. I don't know. Like the subreddit is buzzing, but like my algorithms are all messed up, and I'm just getting served like as far as my algorithm is concerned, this is the biggest show that has ever existed, and I know that's not the case. So, but people are excited.
I really like hope, because I have a editor working on the internet, SEO brain, like, no, don't rebrand your show, kind of like
of course
reflexive recoil. But, and I say this with nothing but admiration for the first 2 seasons of Interview with the Vampire, which again you got me to watch and I thought were excellent. There is something about the rebrand that's an opportunity to say, like, come in now. Ideally, you go and you catch up on the prior 2 seasons. But if you haven't, like, you know, a lot of they're out on the Sam and Jacob are out doing the GQ friendship test interviews. There's the EW cover. Like, they're all over Instagram as well. The concert.
So Variety did
releasing the songs.
Variety did publish an article about this, about how this is like AMC's approach is just sort of like, and because my algorithm is what my algorithm is, there was some backlash I saw from the fandom being like, why are you promoting the show so much more vigorously now that it's like a white lead versus when Jacob Anderson was the lead of the first 2 seasons? That's what my algorithm was serving me, was that frustration. But and that's a perfectly valid response. But I see it as the show is amazing. Yeah. But it's not finding the audience, the massive audience that certainly AMC hoped it would when they spent all that money on on the rights to Anne Rice's Immortal universe. The Mayfair Witches show isn't doing as very well. The Talamasca show, I think, did not really hit as well as they wanted to. So, like, as you say, this is like a real opportunity to say, like, come in. We have this like really flashy like rebrand and try to welcome people in to the universe. And I understand what the timing looks like for fans who feel frustrated by it. But like, as someone who wants this show to just keep going, I want as many people to know about it,
discover it as possible.
And
then the hope is, like, if you sit down to watch this episode, to watch Detroit, and it is your first experience with this AMC adaptation, with this version of this universe, You're going to want, there is, I think, no chance you could watch this episode and not want to go back and watch the first 2 seasons. It's just too captivating, and the performances are too, like, there's just something like kind of rapturous about being in the world. So that's the hope, right? And like, we'll see. It'll be interesting to track over the course of the season. My algorithm is less centrally oriented around the Vampire Lestat than yours is, but it has been making its way into my algorithm. So that has been exciting and fun to see. And it gave me a real, just like last week, while not sleeping for a solid week in Sweden. It was every time I saw something on my Instagram feed, I was like, fuck yeah, let's go. Yeah. Like, the more people who know how wonderful this is, the better. And I completely, I hear, where was this before? And like, again, hopefully everybody goes back and discovers the excellence of the first 2 seasons as well.
By the way, I'm sure the people who make the show are like, yeah, AMC, where was this entire huge effort? And I think AMC was hoping that the brand of the quality of the show and the brand of Anne Rice's universe would be enough to like push people. But AMC Plus is a subscription service that like, not everyone feels like they have the luxury to subscribe to. There's the whole like, and AMC went through this before with Breaking Bad. There's the whole like post it's on Netflix bump that, you can see where it's like, okay, I watched, and I think it was like 3 or 4 seasons of Breaking Bad that hit Netflix. And then all of a sudden it was like the biggest show. And everyone was like, well, I have to watch this season live. So I will subscribe to AMC. And that is certainly what they're hoping.
I watched the first 2 seasons of Interview with the Vampire on Netflix. Yeah. So now I'm
the
watching
Netflix bump is a real thing.
Live.
So we're hoping that is what will happen here. Let's go now to our opening snapshot.
Delightful.
Okay, episode 1, Detroit.
Yes.
Most, though not all, of the episodes this season appear to be named for stops on the tour, so that's fun. Right. We spent 2 nights in Detroit, as you talked about. Bad idea. We'll talk about it. Directed by Craig Zisk, who also directed, among other things, Don't Be Afraid to Start the Tape, my favorite episode of Interview with the Vampire season 2.
Unbelievable.
My favorite episode of like television that came out that year. Just an incredible episode. And so
incredible.
He takes on a really challenge in this episode. There's an immediate change of tone.
Yes.
An immediate change of style, so this like reinvention that you're talking about is not just in the name, but in the entire sort of ethos of the show.
Yes.
This episode written by the showrunner Marlon Jones and Hannah Moskowitz. Just a few table setters before we get into the deep dive. I personally find myself, and as you know, I love accent work. I love Sam Reed.
I mean, hard not to.
As Lestat, I find myself in desperate need of closed captioning this season. The score, the rock score, the rapid fire patter of this show, the like really funny jokes that are just almost tossed away often by Sam Reed. The accent, which I love Sam Reed's Australia by the way of France accent. I'm a big fan of it. But he's now our narrator.
Right.
And so it's not just Lestat when he's talking, but all of the narration is no longer Jacob Anderson's very clear narration, but there is this accented narration, and then there's just like a rock and roll chaos going on. So, and I'm old, so
I mean, same.
And when Jennifer Ely shows up, and she's doing a very special accent as well, and so like this is a closed captioning required experience. And I will say, a lot of the initial reaction that I saw on the subreddit last night was people saying I couldn't really understand what was going on sometimes.
Yeah.
So
because of the subtitling, need for subtitling, or the moving through time, or the LSD hallucinogenic aspect.
Maybe all of the above. And I think that's a fair response. I loved this episode.
Yeah.
Did you like this episode of television?
I did. I really enjoyed it. I had a great time with it. I did have a few. I needed to watch it more than once to like fully. And I watched it the first time without subtitles, just to kind of like take it in full. The right away we open with the opening credits. They're fun. They're funky.
Yeah.
I liked it as kind of like a declaration of intent, which tracked very well with what came in the episode, this like our version of kind of an LSD.
Yes.
Hallucinogenic kind of experience. And also just to signal this is a new thing. This is the next chapter, the next iteration. But also it was a little bit of a signal of like, pay attention, right? You're going to be, and then you have the introduction in short order. We're moving through time. We'll go through the entire episode, like you said, in sequence, in chronological order. But we open with the auction, we move back to Detroit. We move back further from there to the Halloween formation of the band, which is like a prior timeline. Obviously, we're glimpsing a ton of stuff from the past, these moments from Lestat's history and beyond that.
Especially at the end when Lestat is tripping, then he as a narrator, and I want to talk about this, when Louis was our narrator in season 1, and Daniel, eager journalist that he was like, and that sounds like this, and let's get ahead, and all this sort of stuff like that.
Yeah.
And Louis in season 1 says, racing ahead again, Mr. Malloy, let the tale seduce you just as I was seduced, right? Yeah. He's like, I'm going to tell this slowly and in order. Yes. And Lestat's like, where was I? Was I fucking in the elevator? Was I fighting upstairs? No, that didn't happen yet. That was later. His chaotic sort of ADD and then further impacted by the drug trip style of narration is a non-linear style. How do you feel about that?
I love it. I think that it is maybe there is a beat of acclamation that is required, but I think we will be rewarded for acclimating.
Yes.
Because there is we'll hit these in context as we go, but there are multiple deeply prophetic harbingers throughout the episode.
Signs and portents,
signs and portents. And I would also say portents and signs.
Wow.
That's a call. That's an in-joke, folks. You got to check out 5 years of our other pods to understand what that means. This sense that all of these horrors and atrocities await, Daniel coming in, along with Sam from the theater troupe, incredible stuff, to help in the Fang Gang hallway fight. One of the examples, and I love the way Lestat was like, Daniel, he saved me, and that was great, but if he hadn't, maybe all of these other people would have been okay.
Was that good for humanity at the end of the day?
That's not great, and there are other notes earlier as well. So it kind of, I think, heightens and enhances that, even just the auction, this estate to give away. There's this
several of our main characters are grievously injured.
Yeah, and also
is he dead?
What's going on with our guy Lestat if this stuff is being sold at auction for these price points, etc. And what has happened that he is clearly a key driver of. So that is very interesting. But I think because we talked about this a little bit in season 2, and this is delving even deeper into this kind of core impulse and how the text is structured. The question of who is a reliable narrator? Who is the author and arbiter of history? Can you trust another person's account of your experience in your life? But also, can you trust your own account?
Your own recollection.
Because your own memory is deeply flawed, and that is just inherent. And the longer you're alive, presumably the harder it becomes to hold on to any strand of your experience. So the fact that this, for Lestat, it's fractured and messy, and there's exciting pops of color, and then he'll say this is sort of the fun that I like to sing about in my song, Long Face, and you're like, wait, but part of the reason to write the song is to there's a therapeutic, cathartic act of creation and connection
and unearthing of memory.
Yes,
that's a big part of his freak out that happens actually before he drinks the drugged blood. But that freak out is a huge indicator for what this process is for Lestat in the book and here in the show, which is just sort of Louis proclaims to remember things, but there were things that he didn't know about, and also things that, because he's not a human, but has a flawed man-like brain, is going to be informed, and the show's constantly engaging with that, informed by his own biases or self-edits or whatever the case may be. And for Lestat in this situation, it's so interesting because, the format is we're replacing Daniel Malloy is writing a book, that premise, with Daniel Malloy is directing a movie, and inside of that, Lestat is narrating the failures, this project that he has pressed into vinyl that's at auction that we're listening to, with edits to be taken out later also still in there. Also, there's the great song project, the album that he's working on, all the music he's creating. Yeah. So there's these various expressions of artistically, how do we encapsulate a life? How do we tell a story? But he is sort of characterized as omniscient narrator in the failures sequence, which means the show gets to follow characters outside of scenes that Lestat was present for. Right. So we could presumably follow Louis a bit this season, or Daniel when he's not with Lestat, or what is Armand up to, or all these other things without Lestat having to be there. So when you make it an omniscient narrator, does that make it more reliable and accurate? Or are we now just getting the very seemingly unreliable emotional encapsulations of Lestat about things that he wasn't even witness to?
To me, I think it feels like more likely to be the latter, because that's part of, I think, what the thesis of the show and how it's adapting this is like interested. And again, I don't really have the frame of reference for how central that is in the book, but this idea, like Lestat saying, okay, first of all, this is a hysterical episode of television.
Yes.
Like,
and again, the jokes are just like often tossed out, mumbled away.
Yeah.
And you only catch them on like the second or third watch. Yeah.
So you're cracking up. There's such a wry wit and like the humor that is simultaneously, and again, sort of for the character, 265 years, definitionally like eternal and universal in a sense, and then hyper attuned and specific to the moment that he's chronicling. That's all great. I think this idea of like, okay, the stretch where the bookstore scene was so funny. So just funny. Like chef's kiss, wonderful.
Yeah.
He's back at his flat, scrolling, fact-checking in real time this account. When a super fan at the concert comes up to him after to get him to sign the book, he scrolls. He doesn't write his name, he scrolls lies, right? So this idea, the compulsion to correct the record, to me, for very relatable, right, in general, like, oh, that's I'm misunderstood.
Right.
This is a very human impulse for the Immortal Lestat.
Yeah.
But the idea to say, like, I am misunderstood in a public fashion. I am misunderstood by the person who's supposed to understand me the best. So I will correct the record in a way that, of course, misunderstands everything else just through my lens and like with my thumb on the scale is perfect. And so the idea to do it simultaneously through the music itself, like even the name Failures, well, what are the failures? The attempt to be a rock star or the stories that he's chronicling, the
or
collection
that
of
comes
all the failures.
after?
Yeah.
Like,
and then the documentary to bring in Daniel to say like, okay, the way that I will, and a very fun, like, I heard you requested me like is absurd, right? The idea that like the one person who can undermine the sanctity of the interview with the vampire text is the author of it. That there will be like a sanctioning and there's a more like valid quality to Lestat's tale if Daniel is there to help author it.
Yeah.
There's such a conscious engine driving those choices that as a result, how can we expect the account to be reliable?
Accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's interesting. Obviously, like what we do as podcasters is a mere drop in the bucket compared to like the rockstar Lestat. But it is such a weird thing to have a semi sort of like public facing job. And occasionally things like get surfaced to me from the internet that are just completely untrue about me that people say with such conviction. And I'm like, where did you get that conviction? That you're like, well, Joanna feels this way, or Joanna did this, or Joanna. And I'm just like, that's just like
not true.
Not true. And I don't refute it because it's just sort of like, what's the point? But it's such a weird space to be in. And again, this is like a very small fraction of like this. No one's ever written a book about me, obviously, but like, why would they? But but it's such a fucking weird experience that people speak with such certainty, absolute untruths about you. And like for Lestat, are there things that are factually untrue when he's like, my hair never fucking looked like that. How dare you? Or whatever the case may be. But then there's also sort of like characteristically, is this how you actually saw me? Is that actually what you thought my interior life was like, at the end of the day? Last thing I want to talk about before we get into sort of this more chronological thing is the overarching idea of musical numbers as storytelling, right? So this is Daniel Hart gave this great interview where he was talking about the creation of the songs. And we get 3 songs in this episode specifically. Long Face, which was the first one that they released. All Fall Down, which is on the opening credits, was also on a couple trailers. And then Black Licorice, which is the song that he has the like freak out during and has the big violin solo. This is what Daniel Hart said. Songwriting is one of the main ways in which Lestat stays connected to humans in season 3. Humans write a lot of songs about love, and we write a lot of songs about loss. And Lestat has loved a lot and lost a lot. The songs feel very specific to Lestat. Now, when he talked about the process of it, how he was like in the writer's room from the beginning of the season, and how he was he wrote the songs, the music and the lyrics, but collaboratively with Roland Jones, who is the showrunner. He would like come in and say, like, offer up ideas for lyrics that would be references to things that happened in previous seasons. Or he's just like, Roland Jones has just been thinking about the psyche of Lestat for, maybe his whole life, who knows, and so he's just sort of like inside his head. And then with Sam Reed as well. Like, he's like, I collaborated with Sam Reed, who's like been playing this character for so long. And so I just think that like, I love these songs. Not everyone is loving the songs, but I love these songs. And I just think that like, I just think the opportunity to sort of pour over lyrics and try to like really parse what's going on here. One of my favorite things is Black Licorice. Where means exactly what you think it means is one of the recurring lyrics in that song. So what could that mean? A lot of people think it means Louis' dick. That could be what it is. But like, it's just fun to get to parse and explicate these lyrics and have this extra added layer of ability to crawl inside of a character like Lestat.
Right. I love this. First of all, if anyone has not checked out the incredible fictional bands episode that you did last week, treat yourselves. Wonderful stuff. And like the whole discussion of fictional bands, obviously, but the opening stretch on kind of like what is required to do this well and the potential. It's funny because I had been thinking too about the comedy comp, and then obviously you all talked about that. There are multiple moments in this first episode where, with Long Face especially, but in general, there's like, it's incorporated into the text, this lampshading of like, does this suck? And I thought this was very smart because there's enough, first of all, it allows for us to track some sort of musical progression. Maybe that's going to be in the venue size. One of the moments that really made me chuckle was the tour bus. Can't wait to discuss the setup of the tour bus. The tour bus driving through downtown Detroit past Ford Field. And Daniel's like, this is where the Detroit Lions play.
Yeah.
So it's an NFL stadium. This is like a huge stadium, right? I think he quoted like 60,000 seats, but
the face tattoo palooza.
Like, jelly roller in there, and you're like at an 800 seat venue. So there's that aspect of it. How big is the band's stature, the celebrity, but also just what is the quality of the music? And if you watch the first episode and you think the music is incredible, then you get to be enraged on Lestat's behalf. But if you don't feel that way about it, then there's cover to say
it's very clever.
Allow your relationship to the music to evolve over the course of the season. It's super smart.
And they've been doing that in the entire lead up to this as they've released these as they've released these songs. They all come with these fictional liner notes written by Lestat, where he's just sort of like, Daniel Hart, what a hack. This sucks. Are you kidding me? Funny. So like the does Long Face suck being like text of the episode is really funny. I think also all of the like Daniel Malloy skipping the concert and saying like, I just Spotify'd T-Rex, same thing. And I love T-Rex. So I'm like, no wonder this music's working for me. T-Rex, one of my favorite bands. But like, just talking about like how derivative. If you think it's derivative, a character in our show thinks it's derivative. Right. If you think it sucks, a character in our show thinks it sucks. If you think it's funny that Lestat is playing such small clubs, we can talk about it. I think it's for budgetary reasons, but we've invented story reasons why. We've invented story reasons why that's true. And so I think that's just like, I think they've thought of everything and covered it from every angle.
And in terms of just the choice to present, and obviously I understand that this is canon, this is from the text, but to present Lestat as a person literally taking center stage.
Yes.
Right? A musician. Now, this is what we'll talk about the scene where he and Baby Jenks discuss the yearning tendrils, the need for millions, nay, billions, right?
Will that top up your heart?
This is like,
how many people need to listen to a podcast for me to feel like
millions, nay, billions?
Tune in.
Give us the 5 stars. This like just makes perfect sense, right? The idea that Lestat is a character who needs to be in the thick of things, needs to have people looking at him, needs to be in front of the microphone, under the spotlights, couldn't be us, needs everybody not just to look at him, but to know what he thinks. That's the extra element of it that's like, yes, and adore him and worship him and chase him down. And I loved the like, well, it's the description like the body burlesque, right? This idea that he is embracing the fact that he can play with, okay, is it true? Is it a lie? I know we'll talk about that more as we go, but just that in general, like, okay, he could have been an actor. He could have, yes. He could have pursued fame in all forms.
And he has.
And he will, hopefully will continue to, I don't know. Music, to be the front man, to be the person crafting the lyrics and then expressing them in this public way. Music, and I have never written a song, but I have listened to many. And
would you like co-writing credit on Santa Came on a Dragon?
I apologize. I would never deign to claim credit, but I'm happy to consume it. Incredible stuff. The act of songwriting has always struck me as this fast. It's like so personal and internal, right? You are putting down these like innermost thoughts, but the desire is to forge something that other people can put their own experience onto.
Yeah.
Right. And so like Lestat wants all of these people to listen to it and adore him, but like he wants Louis to hear that song.
Oh.
He knows he will.
Yes.
And so that is embedded into the act of creation, is I will share my innermost thoughts and desires, but I know that you will be there to receive them.
And I think, you know, one of the runners in this episode is this text exchange that he's sharing with someone, moi et toi.
Loved this.
Me and you. And the whole time, you know, plenty of us think it's Louis. I thought it was Louis. And
I definitely thought it was Louis.
I thought it was Louis, but I was watching with someone who knows the books better than I do. And she's like, I think this is a fake out and it's going to be Gabriella. And then it was. And I was like, oh, damn, got to read these books. And I have since. But so you won't fool me again. But the remoteness, the chilliness that we get from Gabriella in just this episode, the sort of like, I'm here, I'm suffering, the like toxic sexual relationship when he needs, you know, mothering inside of this moment, that hole in his heart, you know, that needs topping up. Like this is a right off the bat early explanation for why Lestat is the way that Lestat is, because his mother is the way that his mother is. Right. And that is literally his mother who we meet at the end. Just in case you were like, oh, did they literally mean mother? Yes.
I have some questions.
Gabriella is his mother and his lover and his fledgling. Sounds great. This episode is brought to you by Target. All right, drop 2 of the Pokemon and Target 30th Celebration collection is finally here, including limited edition pennants and life-size puzzles of your favorite Pokemon.
We've got the Pikachu puzzle, and it is just over a foot tall. Adorable.
And our Psyduck pennant, that's going up on the wall.
Now that Drop 2 is out in the world, it's your time to discover all the other exclusives in the Pokemon and Target limited time collection.
Calling all trainers, explore now at Target.com. Should we get into the deep dive?
Let's do it.
All right. So as you mentioned, we open with all of these ominous hints of what's to come, right? Louis is hobbling on a cane, missing at least part of his leg. We see like a prosthetic ankle. So we don't know how much of his, you know, lower extremities are missing. Armand has lost an eye. Lestat is nowhere to be seen.
Yeah.
And here are some of the quotes we get.
Great.
Consequent global catastrophe.
Worrying.
The failures. The regretful dead and the traumatized still alive. And the very specific attempted extinction of the Y chromosome. So these are the hints we have. There's some kind of global catastrophe.
Yeah.
Many people died, and the people who lived through it are scarred.
Yes.
And they tried to kill all the dudes.
It's worrying.
It's not great.
It's such a doomed note to start on. And this is kind of like the brilliance of the show and the way that it is crafted and scripted, because you go right from that line, and I am not saying that the attempted extinction of the Y chromosome across continents was all my fault, into the signature humor of, no, that would suggest a level of self-importance that even I'm not comfortable with. But upon reflection, yes, I made a contribution. And it's just like, that's the show in miniature to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, that opening auction, first of all, that sideboard was sick.
Oh my God, it was beautiful.
Can you imagine? Were you more interested in the port?
Absolutely not the port. The decanted blood.
Sounds right. I'll take the port. You can take the blood. We could go in halvesies on the
gosh.
sideboard. What do you think?
I definitely think we could outbid the entire Talamasca for sure. So there's port, the blood of Lestat, right? The decanted blood. We should note that is incredibly potent, powerful shit. that, no wonder there's a bidding war here. Fun, fraught looks between Louis, between Armand, and between Raglan James, who's here, who we met in the previous season, played by the great Justin Kirk, here representing
Always
the
a treat.
Telemasca. The fire stunt.
Yeah, that was good.
The Banksy move from Lestat, incredible, bratty, pissing people off. And I just love how delighted Louis is by this move from Lestat. Loved it.
Fantastic stuff.
We talked about this sort of idea of the omniscient narration, but I just wanted to add to that idea of sort of who's telling the story and under what sort of level of reliability or authenticity. We talked about this a little bit in I think our summer hype, but this idea of we're meeting the real Lestat kind of for the first time ever on the show, despite spending 2 seasons with him, because every time we've seen him, with one exception before now, has been either Armand's recollection or Louis' recollection. Not just the sort of dream ghost version that we meet in season 2, but every, with the fuck ass bob haircut, and no scars on his chest, every version of Lestat we've met has been a recollected version of Lestat, right? Except for in the end of season 2, when Louis goes to New Orleans, then we're outside the story that he's telling Daniel, and that's the real Lestat. But that is Lestat who's broken down and humbled and stuttering and upset and all this sort of stuff like that. So Lestat in his full, brat princiness, this is our real introduction to him. Mm-hmm. And that's so exciting for a character that we already love and a performance we already love. But it's here's the real me. Yeah. Do you still love me?
Right. Well, and I love, as you know, I love stories like this, the affair, for example.
Rashomon, or the equally important Showtime series, The Affair.
Oh, God, great stuff. I mean, it wasn't, but I enjoyed it. Which aspects of this true, or at least Lestat's version of himself, are more flattering? And which will be less flattering? When someone else holds an image of you in their mind or their heart, is it cruel? Is it charitable? Is it both? When is it one or the other? And what sort of messy blend? I think that's going to be really interesting and fascinating to track. And also just with Louis, Armand, and Raglan there, we leave that sequence without knowing who won the bid.
Yeah, so who's listening to this?
Right.
Yeah.
And, it's very fun to know that Lestat is speaking directly to that buyer, right?
Yeah.
The
privilege,
kind of commentary on their wealth and the choices they've made about how to spend their money. But okay, is this purchase being made out of a desire for proximity and closeness to someone who is maybe gone, missing? Mm-hmm. Is it out of a desire to know and understand, glean intel? Right. Is it a desire to protect, right? To keep this information out of other hands? Some combination? I have no idea. Looking forward to finding out. Really intriguing opening note.
I will return. This is the scene I'm most excited to return to in the book spoiler section. So we will talk about it in the book spoiler section.
Okay.
But there's a lot of fun stuff happening here for people who have read the books. Okay. We go now to Detroit, night 1. This is the long face performance.
Yes.
It's spring 2025. The voiceover lets us know we're in the second Trump administration with the "a great nation was making itself great again." The show rules. So good. This is an adaptive change that I think is really interesting, because in the book, the vampire Lestat awakens. He's been underground, sleep, in a long sleep.
Sounds great.
And he's awakened into the 1980s by music. Music wakes him up. Hearing the sort of loud rock music of the time
Delightful.
Is sort of what brings, and he's what's all this? What's happening in humanity? And he's delighted by what he finds. And so there's this passage there's this prologue, and then we get into sort of the autobiography backstory stuff. But this prologue where he's talking about waking up and finding his band, and his assessment of the 80s. And it's really interesting because I'm is this what Anne Rice thought of the 80s when she wrote this book? The quote, "The simplest people of this age were driven by a vigorous secular morality as strong as any religious morality it had ever known. The intellectuals carried the standards, but quite ordinary individuals all over America cared passionately about peace and the poor and the planet as if driven by a mystical zeal. Ah, The 20th century, the turn of the great wheel. It had outdistanced my wildest dreams of it, this future. It had made fools of grim prophets of ages past. I did a lot of thinking about this sinless secular morality, this optimism. And then here's like the key line. This brilliantly lighted world where the value of human life was greater than it had ever been before. When you compare that, Lestat waking up to the world and he's like, very Jack Skellington, what's this? What's this? Like what's happening here? Compare it to Lestat later talking to Daniel.
Yes. Yeah.
And he says, the dark, dreary industrial world has finally submitted to automation. Laborers stand in their doorways, hitting their pipes as their children half pipe in their drained, empty swimming pools. Drugstores locked up baby formula and shaving cream while Saks ate Barney's. And someone told everyone that Lululemon, I believe that's how he pronounced it, Lululemon, was sexy. Facts are irrelevant. Feels are everything. And here's the key quote. And the value of human life, it has never been more arbitrary. David, Freddie, Prince Rogers, they're all gone. And the lights on Tay-Tay's era has dimmed. Fire coming down the hill. Water moving in on Nantucket. No more safe spaces. It's my era now. So this Lestat just reads the modern world to filth.
Yeah.
And so I just find that that direct opposition of the value of human life has never been more arbitrary versus the value of human life was greater than it had ever been before in the 80s. And I'm curious if this is like, I think it would be really hard to have a character in 2025 look around America and say, we're really doing it.
We're doing great and so things are fine.
Is this just reflecting the realities of the culture right now? Though I think plenty of people would look around the 80s and say, like, what the fuck is going on here? Yeah. So, like, is that just sort of like the people who are writing the show are like, hey, man, we couldn't do this Wonder celebration, so we did this really fun and funny, like, reading 2025 to filth?
Yeah.
Or is there something more interesting to you, Mallory, as a non-book reader, to like a Lestat who's not excited and inspired by the world, but is like frustrated and disdainful of the world?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I think like this felt right to me for a few reasons, I guess. I think what you already said, like it would just be, even in a show I love, I think like disqualifying to say like, here we are in this moment in time. And everything's great. There's a way maybe with a really like hedonistic, narcissistic character that you could position it as like, I am unaware of the plight and turmoil around me. That would be a commentary of a different sort. I think that would actually be like a valid way to structure the show. But what does it mean to be immortal? And what does it mean to have lived for nearly 3 centuries?
Yeah.
I think if you are a character who, even if you've spent like a chunk of that time buried underground and you miss certain things, as he reminds us in this episode, and I'm sure will again and has before, you've lived like a lot of life, right? And for Lestat, I really loved the conversation with that, or the conversation, I don't know, can we call them conversations? The exchanges.
The sparring.
That, yeah, like one of the things that baby Jenks said to him about like, you're like wet clothes in a coin-up dryer.
Yeah.
You know, this idea that on the one hand, he is a character who has directly experienced and witnessed more of history than almost anyone. Yes. Yeah. Anyone around him in any room he's ever going to be in. And also who finds himself caught in these loops where no matter what is happening around him, he has these patterns that repeat, including this like need to be adored, need to be loved, and also like a capacity to love deeply in turn, right? So that's really interesting, like what is constant for him and what is shifting, and how is he responding to the world around him. But I think like a character who simultaneously has like a lot of insecurity and doubt and shame, and also considers himself so superior, a god, to look around in like the digital era and say like gods aren't swipes just was perfect. I thought like that was great. And so, you know, so much of Black Licorice, like the TikTok references and things like that, like what would it be like to have lived for all this time and then look around and just see everybody staring at their phones instead of like drinking up literally or figuratively the deliciousness of life around them? I just think it's really interesting. I'm curious to see what feels like it varies, maybe city to city, place to place. Like how much are the spots he's in, actual characters, and the way
Detroit. I think Detroit is a fascinating choice. This is no shade on Detroit, but like Detroit for a long stretch was like being used in every sort of like horror movie as a stand-in for sort of like a crumbling American city, obviously like an industry town that had its industry sort of cut out from underneath it. One of my favorite vampire stories, Only Lovers Left Alive, is set in like a really crumbling Detroit, you know? And so like I think Detroit as emblematic of that moment we're finding ourselves in the American experiment is really interesting. And I think that like specifically when Lestat in the book talks about what he loves about the 80s, he talks about, among other things, sort of like the sexual hedonism and the gender fluidity of the world that he finds. And he's just sort of like how exciting like bisexuality is, you know, is being celebrated. Men have long hair again and are wearing fun fashion again. And, you know, like all the dreariness of the more conservative decades that I lived through are gone. And we're in this like hedonistic celebration. And so for TV Lestat to mention David Bowie, Freddie Mercury, and Prince as like these three people who are these three sort of like, you know, pantheon of rock royalty, specifically in that sort of like gender fluid, queer space, as like they're gone. What has taken its place is that era over with the absence of those titans inside of our world. A question worth asking. Is there room for a Lestat to step in? Who's to say? Who's to say? The first shot we get of Sam Reed, because Lestat is not at the auction, so the first shot we get of Sam Reed in this series is the hand coming out into the spotlight grasping the microphone. Right. And I was wondering if this was a book reference, because in his prologue to the Vampire Lestat, Lestat says, "The only consistent indication that I'm not human is my fingernails. It's the same with all vampires. Our fingernails look like glass, and some people notice that when they don't notice anything else." And so to see his nails, those unusual Lee press-ons that they make all of the vampire characters wear, wrap around the microphone. Obviously, inside of the show, they've got strange eyes as well. That's another indicator for us. But like to be like, here and inside of this, as you mentioned, this really fascinating, he's a vampire pretending to be a human, pretending to be a vampire, this sort of like performative vampirism charade. I think it's so interesting to start with this like undeniable indicator that like this is something inhuman is grabbing the microphone here. I loved it.
Fantastic.
What do you think of the scars? Like, how did you think he looked? What did you think of the scars on his chest? of everything we see here? What do you think?
I mean, obviously, we had been exposed to this, you know, in the trailers. We got to see the release of the first images, the first glimpse at Comic-Con last summer when I got to like feel you quiver beside me in real time
with anticipation.
Very, very meaningful experience. You know, he looks unbelievable. It's like it takes zero effort to convince yourself that the throngs would show up to like
not millions, not billions, but thousands.
800 would fill that venue every night to just watch him, and that when he, you know, crowd surfs, they would delight in touching him, and that they would be so enraptured and swept up in the experience that they wouldn't notice as he levitates back on stage, which was a fun detail because of that, like kind of like you know, collective delusion, even though a lot of the people there are there because they're true believers, right? Like who believes, who doesn't, who is easy to trick and deceive, who is even paying attention. That's like an interesting thing to ask about people in that room, but just sort of like where we are as a society more broadly. It was interesting to think back to like Santiago in season 2, and you know, all of the things that they were doing on stage were real, but they were counting on the audience believing it was a trick.
You want to be fooled.
Yeah. On our minds for many reasons. The Prestige, which I know you'll bring up later, like that's just really fun as a commentary about like what people are like ready to receive and how. So I love that. And yeah, he looks believably like a rock star.
Yeah. Also, I mean, like the filmmaking in the sequence when like the whole world flips upside down, you know, so he's crowd surfing, but like the whole vision is flipped. The godlike adoration, you know, his self-proclamation that he is a god, and you have this like, you know, him Christ-like, you know, sort of stretched out on top of the adoring throngs here.
Naturally, I named the band after myself.
Great. So good. The scars on his chest, I think, are really interesting because, you know, no mention of the scars on my chest either when he's talking to Daniel about sort of the accuracy of Louis' depiction. We get a couple mentions here. Yeah, you kill some wolves and fall in love is a line. I killed a pack of wolves when I was immortal. I'll most likely tell you about that later as I let it define me for a time. It's so funny.
As I let it define me for a time, killed me.
It's so funny because that's making fun of the book. Like that's the
So
show
great.
that loves the book but is making fun of how often Louis thinks of himself as the wolf killer. But so here are these scars on his chest from this like traumatic experience that happened to him when he was still mortal. And I just love that they're here. They're absent from Louis' depiction. Perhaps because like, oops, they forgot to put him on his chest in season 1. But then it just like becomes like a plot line. They're
Right.
absent from the depiction. But it's this constant reminder that Lestat carries of his once pervious flesh, like his vulnerability as immortal. The first line of the book, The Vampire Lestat, is, I am the Vampire Lestat. I am immortal, more or less. And so I just think him walking around with this reminder of his vulnerability is an interesting part of that character.
I love that. And it's interesting to think, like, did Louis not share that? Did Daniel not consider it worth mentioning? Right? There are like a number of different potential explanations. I like your idea that maybe they just didn't have the prosthetic scars ready to go. That's a fun thing to think about.
But they can cover it, and they can cover why his hair looks different. You know, like they can just cover a bunch of stuff by saying like, it was an unreliable narrator, you know,
exactly.
Or there's like, you know, a more deeply psychological reason to skip.
But then
this.
you see Gabriella show up at the end, and you know he's in tatters right after the Fang Gang Fang fight, wonderful stuff. And you know that sequence is a good reminder that like vampires can be destroyed, right, and killed, and like so when we're like forced to confront the fact that he is in this really perilous state, then we see his face, it's all cut, it's all swollen, and like then she moves her God can be swiped, I guess, and moves her finger over his cheekbone and just heals it, and it's like so then the scars, you really, I think even if you don't have the context of the book, you understand that they must have come from a different time, which was all of the wolf mentions throughout were very tantalizing. I loved it.
We open with Longface. Schitt's Creek's very own Noah Reid.
Oh my God, this was
Patrick himself.
An absolute thrill for me as a real Schitt's Creek lover, but a Patrick lover in particular. The second I saw him, Adam and I were talking about this last night because I was like, did you clock immediately that it was Patrick? Because with the beard and the different hairstyle, it took me a minute, but there's something so cherubic and recognizable about his sweet face. And I was like, am I suddenly just like thinking of Tina Turner for any specific reason? You know, no, but I'm thrilled that he's here. And I love the discussion you all had on the pod last week about filling the band with musicians. Shout out the moment where we can see Salamander, the bassist, in the background of a shot, just getting a blowjob in the middle of a crowded room. Yep. Wonderful stuff. Also, when Lestat charges across to the band for the first time, and he's like, more frequent showers, maybe? It's wonderful.
So funny. We meet Larry Alex Salamander, who's a show creation, but is, as I mentioned in that previous podcast, played by the literal music supervisor of the show. And stuff. TC Tough Cookie as the band Satan's Night Owl, Satan's Night Out, who become the Vampire Lestat. We get that, and I talked about this on the previous podcast, we get that La Marseillaise riff, the beginning of Longface, which I absolutely love, which made me think of the Beatles, but also like, you know, of course, Lestat, French boy that he is like, we're going to put La Marseillaise at the beginning of our hit song, Longface. Does it suck? I don't know. Does it suck?
What do you think?
Does it suck? I love it.
Thank you for the feedback. It was so good.
Yeah. So like eventually we will see in night 2 of Detroit, don't stay 2 nights in Detroit, but in night 2 of Detroit, we will see, you know, like ghosts in the audience, essentially. But here we've got like more immediate threats. The camera crew is there. Right. 2 members of the Fang Gang are there.
Tim and Russ. Yeah.
Did you think Russ looked a bit like Kara Swisher?
Oh, I see it. I didn't think that, but now that you're saying it,
loved it.
Wow.
And then the fan who's clutching Daniel's book is also in the audience here.
Right.
And then Lestat just lays out AMC's season 3 marketing plan, like beat for beat. Quote, we dropped songs on the streams and booked intimate venues to induce what Jen Snooze called FOMO.
Incredible.
They came for cosplay, left converted, and I baptized them the Beautiful Unwell. And yes, you can buy a Beautiful Unwell baseball cap on the AMC store.
Baseball cap. I like it. Makes me want some Tarek Skubal commentary while they're still in Detroit. Maybe some, though I would need them to move forward.
I definitely know
in time.
exactly what you're referencing here.
One
Detroit
of the best,
Tigers?
One of the best pitchers in baseball.
Okay.
Currently a big topic of conversation is where will he get traded? Will it be the dreaded outcome for the rest of baseball fans? The Dodgers or the Yankees? Does another team have a chance of getting in there?
Do the Orioles want him?
They can use them.
Okay. No. Not their year.
No, it is. I think it is their year. We've been doing well. We've been doing well.
Yeah.
Currently at the moment of this recording, 4 games under 500, but only a game out in the wild card, folks. The American League is a mess, and anything can still happen.
Exciting.
Been doing well the last couple weeks. It's all happening.
I just want to shout out the glitter on him.
Great.
You absolute shit, Edward Cullen. Fuck you, glitter vampire. I don't care for Twilight, and I care a lot about this glittery vampire. Is that bloody pre-cum on his pants as he says, "I'm coming, I'm coming at the end of he's thrusting, and then this this little stain starts to spread on the front of his pants.
I think definitely. I think the fact that we cut back to it multiple times in a close crop made it undeniable. Just a deep and abiding appreciation for this show and the way that it's crafted. And just
shout out
happy
to the
that we get to share it together.
To the visual effects department, the practical effects department, the costume department.
I mean, that goes right into a little draining both ways. You'll have to guess who gets the fang and who gets the vodka bottle. And yes, it's a vodka bottle. So just a very dick-centric stretch for Lestat. And who are we to complain?
Not I. The documentary Inside the Failures Project reveals itself as soon as we're off stage. We're in the black and white view of the camera, and that's a fun cue for us. Is we know now what's documentary footage, what's not, with the black and white, sort of handheld that we get in the hallway. And again, this is another directing challenge because you're making the show, and then inside the show, you're making this documentary at the same time.
Yes.
It's a really fun way to include Daniel Malloy in the story because he's not in the book, The Vampire Lestat. And they're also finding ways clearly to include Louis, and Louis is not really in The Vampire Lestat. So I would not want a season without Eric Bogosian and Jacob Anderson. So I think this is incredibly smart. I think the documentary is taking the place not just of the Lestat writing his own autobiography, which is what he does in the book, but also as part of his launch as a rock star career, he says to his lawyer, Christine, fetch me the greatest filmmakers from around the world to shoot me some music videos for MTV. And it's just sort of that's not really, TRL's not really happening. Not that it wasn't in the 80s, but we're not really a music video, unless you're Taylor Swift really, or a few other, Sabrina Carpenter, we're not really in a music video centric time in our musical careers, I think. It's Spotify streams. The Swedes did not ask me to say that. Speaking of it, Christine's here. Welcome to the show, lawyer Christine. What did you think of her?
Very intriguing and tantalizing introduction.
Yeah.
The Corvallis paperwork exchange. She has just an amazing dick pills line. Lestat has that moment where he's should I just go up and fuck her?
Yeah.
It's just a number of little nuggets throughout the episode that she's kind of a background and tangential figure throughout the episode, but in a way where I think you're okay, a person who is in the room for this many meaningful moments is going to have a larger role to play, I assume. So I'm intrigued.
Who knows he's a vampire and who doesn't know that he's a vampire, right? Because the band doesn't know until the end of the episode that he's actually a vampire. But Christine certainly seems like she knows. And I think it's interesting, his entourage here. We have lawyer Christine. We have D Pharma, who is a show invented character, but really fun, especially when she's doing her affirmations facing the wall at the end of the episode.
Incredible.
And Dr. Farid, who we met in season 1, is here as part of the entourage. Among some other people who are taking various showers inside of the tour bus and stuff like that. But I think it's really fun to have this entourage around the band and these various characters to flesh out the world here. I also love the phrase he uses here when he talks about the documentary. He says bootless errand, which is not a phrase that I was aware of, but is a great, beautiful, evocative phrase. Yeah. And I don't know. I just love discovering new language.
Same. That's great. And even One of the things I love about the show, you have the capacity to discover new, beautiful phrases. Great. Also, you can hear a phrase that you've heard 1,000 times. It could sound like the first time you've heard it. Like when Lestat in the same stretch is like, I've seen a rough cut of the documentary. Truthful and daring. Like just something about the way he said it was so specifically Lestadian. It was great. And this is also where he says, maybe this is why this is set in 2025. To go back to your prior prompt. Specifically so that it had to be a contemporary story so that we could hear him say, Reddit.
Reddit.
Reddit. Discord.
I think an ongoing,
unbelievable,
section we should do in these recaps is like Lestat pronunciation corner because Reddit is so good.
Incredible.
But nothing tops Lululemon for me.
Yeah, that
Lululemon was really
good.
funny, but like Reddit was very good.
Reddit was unbelievable.
This is where we meet Yarda Klopik, who is a show-invented character, the double of Lestat. Were you also thinking about the Prestige when we met him?
Yeah, in part because of the you take one of the most handsome people alive and you just make them look kind of astonishingly doofy. Yeah, like something's a little off with the teeth and then also just the first glimpse and then, because he's like, you forgot a contact. So something looks like really uncanny about his face. His hair is different. We get the line for the narration. This is another way for Lestat to prop himself up, right? Like he's 3 inches shorter, It's all very good. But then that question of just like, well, okay, so they're sending him out so that he can be photographed. Those photographs will then be uploaded to Reddit. But it is to provide cover so that Lestat can be a vampire and go suck people dry and kill legions and be undetected. But will there be a more specific reason to have that character in the show? Other than just explaining how his nights go?
Yeah, as I mentioned, it's not a book character. So there are already some fun, which we can talk about in the spoiler section. There are already some fun theories about why they came up with this guy and what he's doing here. And I think the show is always thinking, which I really admire about it, in the long term. So casting someone like Justin Kirk to play Raglan James, who shows up for 2 scenes in season 2 and 1 scene thus far this season, but is a character that matters. And so they're we want to cast Justin Kirk as that character in the hopes that we get to the point in the story where it matters that Justin Kirk is playing that character. And for someone like Lestat, seeding in all of his musical stuff in the earlier seasons when we see him playing the piano, playing the New Orleans jazz in season 1 or his opera music critique in season 1, he is this when he freaks out about the atonal notes that he's hearing from Satan's Night Out across the street. They're lucky he didn't kill them because he killed people who displeased him musically in season 1. So I just like that they're always planting these seeds because they have the shape of the full narrative and they're let's not cause problems for ourselves down the road. And so this to me, I think, if the fan theories are right, is an elegant solution for something coming down the road. But we'll talk about that.
Interesting.
The Contessa versus the useful idiot.
Contessa was historic. That was so good. So good.
Daniel is the fucking best.
Oh my God.
Eric Bogosian's so good. And how do you feel about vampire Daniel versus human Daniel? What differences are you seeing? And what are you enjoying here?
I think part of what I love about Daniel in this form is that he feels completely the same to me in a way that it feels exactly right. He was always such a dick and always found a way to position himself, even when in the room with a vampire who could destroy him at a moment's notice, even when he was facing his health challenges, right? Even when he's okay, you brought my laptop. And I really liked the phone call between
Louis and Lestat.
Where he's I didn't know about the cloud because as you recall, I was what about the cloud?
I burned the laptop.
Yeah, it's just, the fact that Daniel is a character who always thinks he's the smartest guy in the room and it's this guy was made to be a vampire. He was made to navigate life in this superior fashion. I really liked, the exchanges where Lestat has that moment where he's just basically when you finish working through your transformational trauma, and Daniel's I don't have any. And I believe neither all that he's full of shit. And of course he does, because how could you not? And part of the way he navigates life is to say, I'm good, dude. Focus on your own shit. And then he's going through his version of that. And of course, when we got to see his flashbacks and his trauma, realize what, horrible things he had suffered through. We learned a lot about Daniel in season 2 through that lens. I also believe that Daniel is like, I'm fine. And I have no trouble adapting to this like new life because it's a life I was always meant to live and for decades have maybe wanted to live. So it's been great. Just a treat.
I love your point about like the fact that, he spent so much time masking like his MS symptoms, you know what I mean? Just sort of like hiding that he was going through this like painful health crisis. Sets him up for someone to hide these things that he's going through. But like, if you think about someone like Claudia or even Louis, this idea of like the first few years of being a vampire.
It's very hard.
Emotionally tumultuous, among other things. And so,
And he's out there giving interviews, on the like nightly news. We saw at the end of season 2 how well that was going. So.
Not great.
Daniel.
I do want to read this passage from the book because
Please.
I think what's so interesting about this idea that like, we'll talk about this more when we do our Disclosure Day pod, but I think this description of how people reacted to a book purporting that vampires are real, it felt so accurate to me. Just sort of like they looked down at their phones and said, huh, and kept scrolling. God will not be swiped. But like, I was just sort of like, that's kind of, because didn't the government say there were UFOs like 2 years ago? We were all kind of like, huh.
Right.
Interesting. It just like kept going. I feel like that happened. So anyway, this idea that Lestat, in Anne Rice's version, the book comes out and people think it's fiction, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's an opportunity that Lestat sees that Louis has presented him with to like sort of like come out in a certain way, like come out of the shadows, right?
Yeah.
So this is the quote from the book. And it didn't matter that they didn't believe it. It didn't matter that they thought it was art. The fact that after 2 centuries of concealment, I was visible to mortals. I spoke my name aloud. I told my nature I was there. But again, I was going further than Louis. His story, for all its peculiarities, had passed for fiction. In the mortal world, it was safe as the tableau of the old Théâtre des Vampires in Paris, where the fiends had pretended to be actors pretending to be fiends on a remote and gaslit stage. I'd step into the solar lights before the cameras. I'd reach out and touch with my icy fingers 1,000 warm and grasping hands. I'd scare the hell out of them if it was possible and charm them and lead them into the truth of it if I could. So like, it's interesting because in the book, Lestat is like upset with Louis, of course, upset with the depiction of the book.
Sure.
But he's also like, but also excited about the opportunity this presents for him to like live his more authentically true self.
Right.
To a degree, he's still performing vampirism, but it feels closer to him than anything he's been able to do before to be his authentic self and flout the 4th law of vampirism. What do you think about this?
I'm interested in this, like the idea that this would be kind of a constant push-pull and a struggle, that you would want to be able to live like openly, freely.
Yeah.
This obviously, of course, makes sense and is a very like potent commentary for various people and navigating circumstances in life in different moments in time. I think also the idea that like people who are inside of your community being the ones to say to you like, you shouldn't do this. Like I liked the moment when Lestat was like, it's 2025, Like, if we can't, like, live freely and openly and be who we are, what are we doing? And so, of course, that also felt like a reason to say, like, to have the MAGA reference where, like, there is so much progress in society and, like, a real progressive embrace of, like, identity. And then that is surrounded with people who want to, like, tell you not to be who you are, which, of course, is, like, horrible and deeply lamentable. So Lestat as a character who is navigating his version of that feels, like, really appropriate. I think also just in more that even just like a more kind of core level, like you're not going to tell me what to do in any respect. You're not going to tell me what to do. Just feels like a central strand of DNA. Part of why I'm really interested in his mother entering the story. Like, what is that dynamic? But then if we think, and we have this through line of these texts, and I, like you, definitely thought it was Louis. I had a voice in my head that was like, do they want us to think it's Louis? We see this iPad fight with Louis, and that was in the past, and then he's gone out to do this thing and kind of like craft his own story in a moment in time where Louis's narrative is really dominant. Would they be texting? Would they like be on a break? You know, maybe it's not. But I was like, it's probably Louis, like that kind of yo-yoing back to each other feels like their relationship. Right. But then there was that moment where like, because we see, you know, the common technique of like popping the text bubbles on the screen, right? But then there's one stretch where we're looking at his phone screen. First of all, that treated us to the incredible, like, let me find exactly what it was. And you are far from the things of man. And then his reply is New Jersey. No, it's just incredible stuff. But the message he doesn't send is, it's been too long. I need you. I'm struggling. And he deletes the I'm struggling part.
That's very Shane Hollander of him.
Quite. But so the idea that like part of Lestat's relationship to the world and the people around him is to say, I am undeniable. And like, you will regard me. And then part of it is like, I have to delete this text because just like everybody else, mortal, immortal, whatever.
I can't ask for help.
I don't know how to ask for help, and I don't always even know when I need it. And sometimes I do know I need it, but I don't know how to find it.
Yeah.
And so like, this all just feels like very kind of potently entwined.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, obviously they're trying to like lead us down that road because the texting is happening when Daniel's like, have you heard from Louis?
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And so of course we're meant to be like, oh, he's hearing from Louis right now, but he's not telling Daniel and all of this
Daniel's
stuff.
like, you won't reply to my text. He doesn't engage even with my telepathy. But that's interesting too. It's like, is Louis, because at this moment in time, you'd be inclined to think Lestat maybe doesn't want to talk to Louis. And Louis would be like, I'm sorry.
Right.
But if Louis is not answering Daniel,
well, because
is he just like, you weren't supposed to publish this? I burned
your laptop for a reason.
And like, your apology is not sufficient. So they're all just kind of mad at each other because of the book? Or is there something else beyond
Vampire
that?
drama. Delicious. Daniel, as you say, same as it ever was, like still employing some of the same journalistic techniques, like the repetition of questions.
Yes.
Did you eat the baby? Did you eat the baby? Did you eat the baby? Here we get the rule of three. We get, did you stutter as a child?
Yes.
3 times in this episode.
Right.
And like, it's funny the second time, and then it's really funny the third time as like a sort of, I just tore a bunch of vampires' heads off their bodies.
Yes.
Like, did you stutter as a child, you know?
Well, and I think especially because Lestat he really prides himself on being the one to like kind of, he's the puppet master in any conversation. Like the Joey Chestnut moment
It's
and that
really
exchange is very emblematic of like, no, I'm going to disarm you, not the other way around. But when Daniel first asked the did you stutter question, we can see and Daniel can see and clock it hit. So then, of course, he's going to keep poking that wound because he knows the wound is there.
Yeah.
As always, I have notes on Daniel's journalistic practices, but
I know
he's observant. He's observant.
And he's like, this is like his version of the hunt. He's on the hunt for blood, and the blood is like your emotional truth, and he will find it and suck you dry. What do you think of the text? So like the frame narrative of the failures, you know, the narration that we're listening to.
Yeah.
We get this sort of like reminder of it constantly of like, you're listening to, you know, disc 2, side B of the failures. The voice here is Canadian filmmaker Guy Madden. I don't know why. I'd be curious why they picked that voice. He's credited as the voice of failure. But what do you think of this like intermittent interjection reminder of, you know, we're not cutting back to Louis and Armand in their, you know, in Dubai.
Right.
But we are getting these constant reminders that the story we're watching is a story we're being told.
Yeah.
Is that useful to you, or how do you feel about it? Or does it feel distracting? How do you feel about it?
I didn't think it was distracting. Yeah, I think it like kind of connects to what we were talking about earlier, just about the nonlinear nature and whose account we're hearing and where are we in time, and even that like opening note of we begin in the middle. Just like we're not on solid ground and we don't have sure footing. The thing that we have is a reminder that we don't have sure footing, which is
its own anchor,
effective, and as a way to just say like, all right, we're the wet clothes too, like we're spinning too, you know, which I like.
We are the wet clothes too. All right, Montreal. I am he. He is me.
Yeah, this was amazing.
I just want to know. So one thing on Lestat's apartment here, among other
gorgeous
prints, absolutely gorgeous. Among other pieces of art around, he's got a print or the real thing. Who's to say? It looks too small to be the real thing, actually. Of Magritte's The Lovers, which is a very famous painting of two people with sort of like sheets wrapped around their face and they're like kissing each other, but their face is like shrouded in these sheets. And it depicts like sort of this inability to actually like connect with someone, right? Like what are the barriers between people as they strive for intimacy? And it made me think of this later when baby Jenks is on the ceiling. A normal sentence I just said. Why are you so sad? Thousands of fans loving you. I want millions. And that'll top off that heart of yours. Billions. Then why you always got to make it so hard for someone to give it to you, right?
So good.
This is Lestat's problem, is like how much he wants intimacy, but how much he's just sort of wrapped up in that sheet anyway and can't actually connect with people.
And isn't this just the experience of being alive, folks?
That's undead.
or alive or undead. Real like Chuck and the Pie Maker vibes. And what you're just
saran wrap.
Saran wrap, yeah.
But Magritte did it first.
I want a version of the famous painting that is pushing daisies.
Fan
Make it happen, internet.
You have your task. Lestat says he's eating trust fund babies. Fucking trust fund babies. Which is very different. The Lestat we meet in the Anne Rice book, I don't need to read this passage, but like he has adopted a Dexter-esque a serial killer who only kills serial killers ways, where he's like, I'm only eating evil people. I'm only eating bad people. I'm on the hunt for people who have done evil things and are unrepentant about it, and that's who I'm eating.
Okay.
Is the Lestat. That is not.
No.
There's no indication that is how this version of Lestat is moving through the world, which I think is interesting.
Good eating from Louis on the iPad. Wonderful. Also, the just like bringing Louis in via iPad here so that he can listen to the tune before he gets the balloon. Nice as a balloon, and then the balloon's popping. It's wonderful.
Who among us has not been like entrapped by an iPhone? Like
who has not accidentally given a thumbs up
or like
a Zoom meeting when you did not mean to give a thumbs up?
Or you write huge and the phone's like, huge? Is that what you meant?
That happens to me a lot.
I know.
Yeah.
What's up with that? Effects. Some of it's just like dramatic caps marks, you know? We get the bookstore scene, which is amazing, which they released before the season started. I'm pretty sure that the bookseller here, the book clerk here who's talking about how much she loves Armand, is a reference to a fan who posted like a very viral TikTok about going to the Louvre and skipping right past the Mona Lisa to go see Armand's painting at the Louvre.
Get it.
And I just think it's a really sweet tribute to a fan to like sort of write them into the show. I think it's really sweet.
I love it. Real Deborah, Ava, like, are we sure the Mona Lisa is good? Hacks finale stuff there as well.
Hacks finale. Great.
Very emotional.
Very good.
Very emotional. Yeah. I'm sad that show's over. It's nice when a show can like end and say the thing it wants to say at the end. Beautiful stuff. On the bookstore scene, I've told you before in our gift swap pods that my husband Adam, who has read these books, unlike yours truly, thinks that the show is like one of the, which he had not watched it either. Yeah. We both watched it because he just thinks it's like one of the best things on TV and adores it. I like almost had to pause the episode to be like, are you okay? Like, do you need a minute do you want to become a member? No, thank you. Like, so funny. Which was hysterical.
No, thank you.
No, thank you. This is great stuff.
No, yeah, he's in full tantrum mode. Like from the moment he finds out of the book,
good.
You know, all through this Montreal sequence, no one is safe. Booksellers, the trick-or-treaters who show up as characters from Interview with the Vampire, the like, your camera's not period accurate to the little Louis there.
So good. The allergies are delusional. Tough.
Yeah, to the little vampire Armand.
The Armand through line, like the booksellers talking about how Armand is so much more interesting and wonderful. The trick-or-treaters, the tattoo, and the Fang Gang fight at the end. It's like constantly being surrounded by people who are like, the person you resent is like my true north, and I think you're the way that Lestat was like in the midst of this fight, holding his own or fucking up or whatever, but like feeling a certain kind of way about it. And then as soon as he sees that tattoo, he's just like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" It was so unbelievable.
Good. Then we get the Lestat ranting, as you already mentioned, like as he's going through the book. Is this what it looks like when you go through your text? Do you also use multiple highlighter colors and tabs and underlines as you annotate?
I do like to highlight, lines when I'm reading for pod prep specifically, and also just for pleasure. I like to mark a passage. Color coding, I save for pod prep documents. That's for the Google Docs and the spreadsheets.
And you are prodigious.
I do love a color code. We're doing a rewrite.
So good.
Great stuff.
Lilo, not Harlequin, is a reference to the role Lestat was playing on a very significant night in the past. We saw him as a Harlequin in Armand's recollection, but I love the fact that Armand is like, he was playing a Harlequin, and like Lestat is so offended that he got that so wrong. Mallory, as an editor, how do you feel about Daniel's we get a snippet of Daniel Malloy's masterclass, and he says, your editor is your priest. How did you feel about that? Did you feel
also
seen
said
and
your
known?
sources are your Sherpas, which like, all of these things are true, but I don't think Daniel believes them.
No.
Daniel Malloy has never once taken a note from an editor. I feel sure. I feel sure. In the Google Docs era, Daniel is like the hits X instead of check on the track changes.
Just rejects every single change.
All the time. I feel sure.
I agree with you. The fact that, I mean, I love when he breaks in. You already mentioned breaking into play the guitar over Larry's attempt to play the guitar. He plays the note that he thinks he should be playing, snaps the guitar, but then says, I'll replace it.
In the morning.
He'll get a replacement in the morning. But the vision of, and this actually made me think of Giles, the vision of the Vampire Lestat clutching a bowl of trick-or-treat candy. The Vampire Lestat.
Incredible. I thought of the Giles candy bowl too.
Did he go to the CVS himself and pick out this assortment it was a pretty good assortment of candy.
Yeah.
And I just love that like Lestat is going to be rude to children.
You'll take whatever I can give you. Yeah.
But he did buy the candy and he did answer the door when they came knocking.
Incredible response to first seeing them. Like, oh, hello.
Yeah.
So good. The peanut allergy kid. So it could be any number of things. It could be Snickers. It could be peanut M&Ms. Looked like there were some peanut M&Ms mini packs in there. But the kid is like, I'll take a Mounds. Now, as you know, Mounds, one of my favorite Halloween candy options. So I was like, this guy gets it about Lestat. Then he screamed at the children and told them their allergies weren't real. And I was like, I have some notes. But purchasing the Mounds.
No, I think he got the top tier candy.
Wonderful.
I saw some Reese's product in there. Like, he was really doing it.
Great stuff.
The hotel's called the Dracula's Daughter, and they carry vampons.
Vampons. Incredible. Oh my God. Soak up your dark gift with vampons.
Is that your tagline?
Yeah. What's yours?
I love it.
Oh God.
Drain the tension away with vampons. With vampons.
Oh man.
Lestat. Okay, so we get this like, that's why these movie producers hired you, Daniel Malloy, Vampire Slayer. They said you requested me. Who are these movie producers? Who is making this movie? Why are they making this documentary? If it wasn't Daniel's idea, whose idea was it? Is it Lestat's idea and he's sort of like moving from behind the scenes? Or like is the Telemasca making a documentary? Like who's doing this? Who's the they?
So inside of this episode, I think we're like meant to believe that Lestat is trying to engineer all of this so that he can get his, he can commit to the record his account and he can have his direct one through his songs and then the one that Daniel has like added this extra degree of credibility to.
The liner notes.
Liner notes. It would be really interesting if it was Telemasca or some other body that was seeking some level of control. And like, one of the things, obviously we have the Fang Gang, we have the Justin Kirk's character is here, obviously Daniel's here. We have various figures, even just in the auction, the line of like, this note about discretion and the implication.
We weren't here, neither were you.
And like whichever organization you represent, this kind of little moment to remind us there might be all these other like figures and shadowy bodies. So all sorts of possibilities. But like I liked that there was the return of the kind of like structural apparatus of the hearing the different voices, who are saying like the fourth law and all this, and he's not even like writing about us; he's writing about himself, which we got a very memorable and I like kind of instantly iconic version of in the season 2 finale with Louis leading to him leaning forward. It's like, I own the night. I was like, oh my God.
He's like, come get me.
Incredible.
Yeah.
So for Lestat, for us to get the version of it there, it's like just these reminders that there are all these other forces out there who have the thing that they either want or they want to protect and preserve and shield. So there could be any number of answers at this point.
There's also when Baby Jenks is on the ceiling.
Yes.
She's like, they're coming.
Yes.
And I don't know, first of all, I don't know if that Baby Jenks is meant to be like real in some way.
Right.
How prophetic are the prophecies here when she's talking about he'll die, he'll die, he'll die bad? Like I don't
Daniel.
I don't know. Like
Yeah.
if we're meant to take that as like as law,
right?
Because like it's like a hallucination, or is it actually baby Jenks? But what the fuck does baby Jenks know? You know, at the end of the day. And then when she says they're coming, does she mean the Fang Gang or does she mean some other they?
Right.
You know?
Right. She's got that interesting tattoo on the back of her neck.
Killer.
And the line about like, I'm getting married, but I'll never forget you. And this like, and then he has the honey trap line. So there's, what does she know? And is she connected to?
Yeah, I think she's what I've determined after watching the episode a couple times. I mean, and there's clues from the books and whatever, but this is not a thing that character does in the book at all. The baby Jenks character who's 14 in the books and they aged her up, but like, because that she's there and she takes all those drugs intentionally so that Lestat will bite her, so that Lestat will be incapacitated on drugs, so that the Fang Gang can fuck him up.
Right.
So when he says honey trapping baby Jenks, that's what he means. That she was
that
there to like drug him by proxy.
Yeah.
Back at the Dracula's daughter.
Yes.
Home of vampons. I can just see it. You know, those like, I mean, especially when you're in an LA hotel, the like weird offerings they have at the mini bar.
Yeah.
Where they're like, here's 5 kinds of lube.
Yeah. Or well, I mean, or Vegas.
Oh, I've never been to a Vegas hotel.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Well, you could either go to a Vegas hotel or I could just send you an incredibly memorable clip from the most recent season of Drive to Survive as part of my ongoing pursuit to get you to watch Drive to Survive.
How's it going?
Where George Russell, not well, because you've yet to watch a single second of it.
But I did text you about Lewis Hamilton's dating.
You did.
So
another podium for Lewis this weekend.
Step in the right
Monaco.
direction.
He finished second. Great stuff. Kimmy won again. 5 wins in a row for Kimmy. Mercedes is running away with it. Another DNF for Lando. Tough times for Papaya Hive and every F1 fan who's not a Mercedes fan. Very tough. But there's a great Drive to Survive scene where George Russell and Toto Wolff, the incredibly accomplished and handsome team principal of Mercedes, are discussing the
intimacy kits
offerings at Vegas hotels. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Great stuff.
Lestat here, the Dracula's daughter, is playing sad boy guitar.
Yes.
And still texting his mom, who's also his lover and also his fledgling. As we hear those international voices sort of behind him. They're talking about Lestat's need for the limelight and how this breaks the fourth great law. We already got this from Armand in season 2, because when Armand was talking about first meeting Lestat and seeing him play, not the Harlequin, in the theater, and Armand's like, both has like a massive boner for Lestat and thinks he's the hottest thing ever, and is also like, what the fuck? Armand at that point was like living grubby in the shadows.
Right.
And he's like, what are you doing up here on stage? And this is a quote from that season 2 episode. The 4th of our great laws was writ, no vampire shall ever reveal his true nature to a mortal and let that mortal live. And here he was, prancing and preening in front of 500 mortals a night like some patronized, tarted up dervish, using the dark gift for what? His vanity? It was heresy. So that's the same, like, Lestat's stage career, at that point in history, and his stage career now, same as it ever was to a certain degree. That sort of like longing for affirmation and adulation. And he will break whatever vampire law he needs to get there. There's a blackout.
Yeah.
Is this a supernatural blackout? What do you think?
So the text we get about this is the rapture has descended upon Detroit. Seems reasonable to assume that there is some vampiric cause behind this or connection to this, especially given like the Fang Gang go
the regionals.
Tim and Russ, the regionals was hysterical.
Really funny.
Real like top tier diminishment from Lestat there. I'm international, I'm global.
Yeah.
You're regional. Tough.
Local talent, trying to make a name for themselves.
They kind of go out of their way to like outline the local geography and like, you want to see a real vampire bar and come to this town and we've got our feeding farm beneath the floorboards and just this sense of like what is. But then of course Lestat is moving. Also just loved in the text his descriptions of where he was using European cities that have American corollaries to geolocate. That was really great. But yeah, it seems like there's a supernatural cause to this, right? Must be.
Stay tuned to find out.
Okay.
Detroit Night 2.
Yeah.
Black Licorice. We see Lestat playing the violin. This is a key aspect of his musical journey, if you remember from season 2. And I think he talks about Nikki in season 1, but Nikki, who is like his first paramour, who we met in the flashbacks in season 2, Armand sort of like kidnapped him from the street, and then they like took him to his creepy little den and they all fed on him and stuff like that. Nikki is Lestat's like first love, and he was a violin player. He died, as they talk about in season 2. And Lestat teaches himself violin, like tribute to Nikki or whatever, but like him playing the violin is a key part of, it would be ridiculous to have Lestat the rock star and not have him play the violin. And I just think, I love the way that Daniel Hart has incorporated it into this song and hopefully some of the other songs. Did it to you sound like the Police song, da-do-do-do,
Yeah.
This is what I say to you. Okay. I mean, I think Lestat would be the first to admit that that was an inspiration here.
Great stuff.
Then we have this breakdown. What did you make of this breakdown that happens before the drug blood? Like what we get a description, which I can read or not, but like there is no comp for this in the book, so I can't really explain it. So what was your impression of what was going on, that other than his like tambourine-based frustrations at Larry, what's going on that Lestat has this
pick up the tambourine
breakthrough moment?
I did not like totally understand what was going on here. I think that, the way that the embrace at the end, because he's seeing, his various muses, as he calls them, these key loves and figures and people who he's had a connection to across time and then lost across time. And my music wrapped itself around me like a jungle snake constricting its prey, and a lifetime of blood bartering overwhelmed the temporal lobe. Muses appeared in my mind, and then the now around me, memories taking their turn, blood in, blood out, hammering away at the performative vampire persona I had welded into armor. The armor cracked. We love a wear it like armor kind of thing. Great.
Loved
the bridge buckled. The bona fide vampire emerged center stage. It was I who had been adequate. It was I who had been holding us back. And now, exposed in the raw under the white hot lights, my bandmates began to feed. And that sound I had been grinding them for finally unleashed a euphoric grottiness spilling into the crowd, into their bodies, enveloping the venue. I did not understand what caused that. I thought that the sentiment expressed was really interesting, but I didn't quite understand what the trigger
Me neither.
was in this, like, we're
I'm not
engaged
mad
in
about it.
combat
I just,
over like who gets this solo, and then he kind of falls to his knees and is in this like state. I wasn't totally following that.
I was reminded of when Louis is turned in season 1, episode 1. And this is how he describes it. The blood, it came as a dull roar at first, and then a pounding, like the pounding of a drum, growing louder and louder, as if some enormous creature was coming through a dark and alien forest, a huge drum. And so I was like, when it was like the jungle snake wrapped itself around me, I was thinking about that like alien forest line. But I don't have like a great explanation for what's going on here. I'm not mad about it. I just don't really fully understand it. But this idea of like, he gets these flashes, right? We see Louis as we first met him in the audience, Louis season 1 in the audience. We get flashes of scenes we'll surely see in more depth as the show goes on, but we see characters like Magnus, who is his creator, or Nikki, or Gabriella, et cetera, his mom, et cetera, his lover, his fledgling. For the Lestat in the book, this was like sort of a stated intention for why he was doing this music tour in the first place and why he was writing this book is, I wanted my band and my book to draw out not only Louis, but all the other demons that I had ever known and loved. I wanted to find my lost ones, awaken those who slept as I had slept, fledglings and ancient ones, beautiful and evil and mad and heartless. They'd all come after me when they saw those video clips and heard those records, when they saw the book in the windows of the bookstores, and they'd know exactly where to find me. So that version of Lestat is intentionally drawing out who's out there. Ghosts in his memory or physical, actual ancient vampires who might be sleeping around the world. What can his music woke him up? What can his music wake up as he goes forward?
Well, I guess there's like a little bit of that I mean, there is a version of reading this where it's like, Lestat is just as big of a Patrick from Schitt's Creek fan as we are. Like, and
he's like, I have never thought of that Tina Turner song the same way again.
Simply the best.
Your portrayal of the MC in Cabaret changed my life.
Who among us, The idea that he's been saying to Larry, pick up the tambourine, put down the guitar, let me shine. And then because Larry has like stubbornly in a very Lestat-esque way refused, and he's like, this is my moment, I will.
Well, Larry's like, I used to be the front man of this band, by the way.
And Lestat knows that and has like remarked many times throughout the episode on his jealousy, right? Like that he wants to strangle him, like the way he wants to strangle, he's choking the neck of the guitar and he wishes that it were his neck. The idea that he kind of like has to, for a second, very organically stop resisting and just sort of succumb, and then is like swept up in the power of not just the music, but the way that the crowd who has assembled is actually swept up in it too.
And being I don't know if the band.
Yeah, the rendering like totally captured that, but I think that idea tracks.
Yeah, I love that. Honey Trap and Baby Jenks. We've already talked about it. Anything else you want to say about this like overdosing, Baby Jenks on the ceiling, train spotting baby moment that we get inside of this episode?
This was just all really entertaining and good. The close up of the drug cocktail tabs on her tongue. Obviously, we get a number of like incredible lines from Lestat describing this cocktail blend inside of his blood after. I particularly liked the callback to like when he's basically like, a vampire of my stature should be like a little bit more on guard for the blood poisoning stuff. But like I have fallen.
Fool me once.
Fool me once was so great. I liked when he goes in and goes into the the dressing room, and it's like, who's OD'd? Every hand is up. Oh man, just really good.
D, to be clear, when Daniel walks in and he sees D snorting coke.
Yes.
Dee's role, and Roland Jones has said this about the role she plays in the band. She's either the social media manager or the way they get their drugs. So essentially, Daniel walks in, sees her snorting cocaine, and then we see later that he has bitten her. So like that's how he can have some cocaine, is by drinking her blood that's full of cocaine. So that is a role that D Pharma fulfills inside of the entourage. So she certainly seems to know that vampires are real.
Yes.
And Christine does. So it's really just like, and the Dr. Farid certainly does. So it seems to be just the band that is in for a bit of an awakening at the end of the episode. But
seems like maybe they should have noticed too.
Well, in the book, he like tells them and they're like, that's hilarious. You think you're the Vampire Lestat. Right. We get it, dude. You're a vampire. Yeah. And then they're like, oh, you're actually a vampire. Wow. But yeah, Dee and Daniel just being like raising their hands was really funny.
Very good.
The overdosing, all the profound things she says to him on the ceiling. But yeah, there's just like comedy wrapped inside of like incisive psychological commentary and wrapped inside of like prophecy of death.
Yes.
This is some great fantasy television shit. Loved it. Immortal properties. So the event, the party that takes place at the hotel that leads up to the Fangang fight at Dracula's daughter.
Yes.
There's a step and repeat that the band and then eventually Lestat in his pink silk blouse and pink corset, giving them the pussycat is what he says it, which is just
give the Paps my pussycat iconic.
Incredible. Are you going to say that next time someone makes you, when you're a moderator, step on a step and repeat? I hate a step and repeat.
But, I mean, we have been talking about purchasing some suits too, so that's
okay. When we get our like,
not my color, but
our full suit glam on,
you can pull it off.
The pink silk? I don't think so.
Definitely.
But the step and repeat, it says Dracula's daughter, the name of the hotel, and then it says Immortal Properties. And this is not a book thing, so I don't know what this is, but it feels like something, so is this the they?
Oh, yeah, I like it. Right. And who is that? Just a cover for another thing.
Right.
What are you more excited to track throughout the season? Immortal Properties or
Vampon usage?
Vampon usage or Wig Watch TM with Joanna Robinson TM for Baby Lestat?
Wig Watch is going to be a little tough this season. I love you, show. I love this show more than any other show. I have some wig questions.
Oh, God.
You mentioned the drug lines. The drug line that I love the most was when he says MDMA and LSD, the Torval and Dean of hallucinogenics. Torval and Dean are
Amazing.
British ice skating duo from the 1980s. And it's just like a very specific, I word searched it in the book just in case it was something that he talks about in the book that's set in the 1980s, but it's not. It's just sort of like the writers are really funny. The Torval and Dean of hallucinogenics.
Fantastic.
Incredible. Daniel still trying to get his. What did you make of this scalpel conversation? Baby Jenks calling Lestat the scalpel. He's like, put it on the t-shirts. A very Mallory Rubin.
Put it on the merch. He's just
moment.
Lestat, just like us.
Yeah.
Does he actually have merch unlike us? You've already said that the answer to the question is yes.
He does have merch. I did buy a t-shirt.
Oh, delightful. Maybe I'll buy one too. You know, I love merch. I liked this description, and it felt fitting that he embraced that description because there's like part of the scalpel is, I feel equipped to say this as somebody who had never seen a second of VR, but has watched 2 seasons of The Pit.
Yeah.
Precision, right? Precision,
cutting,
the deliberate, intentional cut. But I think also that's how Lestat is embracing and positioning the label. I think obviously like when you hear it as a viewer of the show, what I see in my mind's eye is just like a carnage, like a knife cutting through and all the damage that you can do. So it feels like another version of this like, well, wait, how are we seeing ourselves? Who are we telling people we are? What do they see, et cetera? But put it on the merch is just great stuff. Also, like when Baby Jenks, this is just real like Baby Jenks poet stuff. He has the heart in his mouth, and he's like, do you want to fuck? And rock and roll is like, yeah, bitch. So good.
Very Band-Aid of her, I think. But like, God. I think that also just like the way that like, again, the writing on the show just, scratches some itch inside of my brain that I love so much. Like when we get the whole eco-urinal thing and learning about vampire, anatomy and how like the blood urine, and he's like, never told you about that, did he? All that sort of stuff. Yeah, but he's like, we Chardonnay it, and all 3 vampires had their glass of Chardonnay ready to like throw it. I don't, hobbitsanddragons@gmail.com. Why Chardonnay, cousin? Like, why is that the?
Got to rewatch Sideways, see what notes are in there to apply to this lesson.
Pinot Noir. Yeah. So like the Chardonnay, but so like when he says, what would the scalpel do between this, that, and basically it's like fuck some people in the oven, but like in the oven, in the elevator, but like
he'd also fuck people in an oven.
He would, but he's like referring to himself as the scalpel immediately. He's like adopted this branding, and then he's like, I'll Chardonnay these regionals. You know what I mean? Like the way that he's just like picking up the specific language of the scene that he is careening in his drug-induced haze, careening through is just fantastic. The cuts that we get in this drug, like he's dancing in the club and he's sort of like shakes his head down and shakes it back up and he's on stage and then shakes it down again and he's in the club. Or when he's like spinning, there's like Baby Jenks, but there's also Louis in his like, I just poisoned you, New Orleans wig and stuff like that. Right. So just sort of like those glitches in time and glitches in place were just really fun for me. In terms of that like self-edit on the Failures vinyl.
Yes.
Editorial wags of an insane person. Note to self, edit that out in the final version. Mm-hmm. So what do you make of that? Like, what do you make of this is not the final version of the like someone forgot to take out. And then why would Lestat, he certainly said plenty of other insulting things about Louis' like depiction of him. So why would editorial wags of an insane person be beyond the pale and not want to make it into the mix there, I mean, it's funny.
Hysterical. I read that as even Lestat clocked he was telling on himself. Like he's describing himself. And so it's too uncomfortable. Like you don't want to give your audience a reason to think that about you. Right? So these are the editorial wags of an insane person. It's like anyone hearing him say that is going to say, that's what you're doing. These are the editorial wags of an insane person. I do think the fact that note to self edit that out in the final version that it is in there, as you noted, that gets the theory brain going of like, well, does that mean did he just forget?
Did he forget?
There's a lot going on. Is he not around to edit it out?
Interesting. All right. In the lead up to his scrap with the regionals, Lestat mentions the Queen's blood a few times.
Yeah.
And then later he says IMF, International Monetary Fund, IMF freezing your accounts because you have the blood of a patricidal queen inside of you. I don't think this is a spoiler to say because he's talked about this in season 2.
Yeah.
he says to Armand and Louis, I have the blood of Magnus in me. That's his maker. Magnus burned. I have the blood of Akasha in me. And in reference to Armand, he says he doesn't know who that is. But we do. That's the Queen of the Damned. Akasha, the Queen of the Damned.
Right.
The name of the second book. And so when he says, I have the blood of the Queen inside of him, he's talking about Akasha.
Right. Who has been
patricidal queen.
Right. And is in the show.
Yes, has been cast in the show. Yes.
Exciting.
Akasha. All right. What the Queen's blood does, we can all find out together, but
can't wait.
He has it inside of him. All right. After party on the asphalt floor.
So good.
You mentioned this incredibly random line that Christine gets, but I just love it. I'm scoring dick pills in Mogadishu for a UN peacekeeper when in walks Stuart Copeland of police fame, wearing a kufi and a mouthful of ammo. Christine, you icon. I want to hear all of her stories. Incredible woman.
Unbelievable.
I love that line. And it's just like a random throwaway line that they wrote for Christine. I just think I love this show so much.
So good. Will we get like a Theater of the Absurd, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead, like Christine the accounting?
Christine's POV of an episode? Yeah. I would love that.
That would be amazing.
I would love that. Hierarchy of vampiric pleasure from Lestat.
This was historic.
Murder, then draining, then the petit coup, the little sip. Then fucking baby Jenks, D, and a bellman in the elevator. That's the hierarchy. Do you think Lestat should put Immortal Erection on the merch as well as the scalpel?
Talk about merch I would buy.
Yeah.
Man.
Lestat Immortal Erection.
I have an immortal life and I carry with it an immortal erection and I am not ashamed of it. Sex is fun, like the fun I sing about in Long Face. It's the extra beat. It just seals it. It's so, 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 so good.
Does that song suck?
When looking back on it now, it does suck. I have some residuals coming in, actually. Incredible. And like, this was great because the description is like, you're just like, you have feel yourself smiling as you watch this and listen to it. The cuts to the elevator sex scene. And then like,
there's like a subliminal weird cut. There's a cut to the vodka bottle.
Yes. There's a lot about it that seems like thrilling and very sexy. And then there's a lot that seems really tiring. And then later he's like, my sex legs. Like, I can't fight the bang gang. And I'm like, yeah, that looked exhausting. I know you pushed all the buttons, but there was like a lot going on. Mm-hmm. It's just all very great. But another way to say, like Louis, when he's talking about Louis like this, it tipped around vampire sex, didn't it?
Right.
This like, well, what are you going to get from me that you didn't get from him? You got the urinal sequence, now this. And then carnal pleasure is essential to a vampire survival, if only to keep time's baggage from burying you. So again, it felt like a little microcosm of the show where there's something like really kind of hot and fun and like a night out at the club about this sequence. But then there was something really like poetic about it. Like, why do you do these things? Because they feel good, but also to distract yourself for just like 8 floors of buttons from thinking about how miserable you are.
Well, and we get this in among all the like sexual flashes that we get of like Nikki, et cetera, et cetera. We get like a flash to a fight that he and Louis had in New Orleans. And so it's just sort of like when he says like to distract you from.
Right.
It's like this is the pain that he's trying to avoid. So let's just like marinate in the pleasure instead. The Fang Gang.
Tooth Team.
The Tooth Team.
Tooth Team might have been my favorite about Tooth Team.
It's so good. Also, like when Lestat is at the urinal. And Tim is like making a snide remark about Russ being non-binary, like the they, them. And he's like, but still it is respectful, like silence at a urinal.
Yeah.
I just thought that was really good.
Incredible.
But here comes Daniel Malloy and Sam the vampire, who is Daft Punk, I guess. Enter. They get a great like low camera sort of like heroic enter. And they, and then Daniel gets to drop his iconic line. And then he just gets to like fuck up a bunch of people. And we get to see Eric Bogosian
decapitating with like a string. Yeah. Wonderful. Really, really great.
And then were you a stutterer as a child?
This was a really fun action sequence. We love a hallway fight.
We do.
We love a hallway fight.
I love that Lestat has that line about something like constraining architecture or something like confining architecture.
Dragging his face like to knock the drywall off the wall there. That was really great. But I like that it's like mixed in with the action and all of the intentionally disorienting cuts. We have this like, I thought, appropriate and right bit of narration from him. Like there are plenty of things that he says that are sort of, you're like, okay, like sure. But when he's like, I was just singing my songs and fucking my food. Like, what about all these other people? Like, what did Louis do?
Mm-hmm.
Like, this book, it wasn't on me. I didn't do this. I didn't put this out into the world in the first place. And, it's always nice when we have an excuse to think about either Portnoy's complaint or Tommy Norris fucking an omelet in season 2 of Landman. So thanks for that, Lestat. Thank you always. But,
you love talking about Portnoy's complaint.
I sure do. And Landman, 2 of my favorites, 2 sacred texts. Collecting fledglings like they were Labubu.
Lububu. What was better, Lululemon or Labubu?
Oh, just for me, Reddit was the best, but like they're all just fantastic. But yeah, he's like, Louis outed us already. Why is everyone mad at me? Mm-hmm. And of course, we know that they were all mad at Louis too. But it's a good note. And then of course the way he's like mocking their platitudes and their self-importance, their sense of self-importance, before he's just completely undone by the tattoo and then rescued. Really, really good.
What does this mean? And once you reveal yourself, you have to be on all the time and remember every face you've ever met. And everywhere you go, everyone remembers the thing they said to you in the room that you share.
And
what does that mean?
Basically, we get like a moment, a beat of like, all these people now know that this is who I am. So like, is that like the
on
Aria
all the time? What do you mean?
List?
What do you mean on all the time? Once you reveal yourself, you have to be on all the time.
I mean, it's I don't know. Maybe like just tracking them, making sure they don't reveal more to other people than you reveal. Like, are these all people that he has to kill now? That he has to eliminate?
Or do you have to perform vampirism in a certain way? You do now feel the burden of having to like be the Vampire Lestat because you have revealed yourself as a vampire.
Yeah, to live up to a certain image.
Blood, it's funny because I'm a vampire. All right. One more ominous portent for the road, as you mentioned. But then maybe more of the world would still be alive if Dan had not rallied his army downstairs. Also, shout out Lestat calling him Dan, which is not something Louis ever did. It was Daniel.
Amazing.
And he's like, Dan. I think it's fun. A hotel in Windsor, Canada.
Yeah.
And in conclusion, incest.
Yes. Yep.
It's not much of a reveal, I guess. I know it's common gossip now. The first thing one thinks about when my name comes up, I assume a privileged individual such as yourself enjoys a little dirt in their sandwich. Fledgling, lover, mother. So to be clear, because she's a fledgling, that means he made her.
Right.
So that's his mom, Gabriella.
Yeah. Yes.
Who he also fucks.
Okay. Yep.
Who he also turned into a vampire.
You don't have to answer this question because hopefully this will be clarified in the canon of the show in time. Were they fucking before they were vampires? Or is the idea that like once you become a vampire, you are removed from yourself?
The rules of society.
Yeah, in a way that would make this a little less Damon Harrenhal dreaming about eating out his mom, or Jimmy and Boardwalk actually fucking his mom, spoiler, or any other wonderful bit of Sunday night prestige TV incest that you might want to reference. We could go with Rome, though that's siblings, of course, not a parent-child. That's a more limited text, thankfully.
Thanks for this complete rundown of incest on HBO.
I definitely at one point during a House of the Dragon run for sure made like just I was alarmed to be able to make a pretty long list just off the dome.
Well, let's add the Vampire Lestat.
Yeah.
Tune in to find out.
Okay, so I'm expecting clarity on that front. Will we get it? I don't know. I hope so. But yeah, this was a surprise to me.
Here she comes, Jennifer Ely of Pride and Prejudice fame, or anything else that you prefer to think. The original Catelyn Stark on Game of Thrones from the Lost pilot.
That's right.
We should say.
Yeah.
The stutter returns.
Yes.
As soon as he sees his mom, the stutter comes back. And we heard him stutter at the end of season 2 when he's talking to Louis.
Right.
So, yeah, and then they fuck. So that's the Vampire Lestat. Anything else you want to say?
Seems like a perfect place to end the episode.
I think we really did it.
Or the non-spoiler section of the episode, I should say.
Let's go down
I can't wait for episode 2.
Oh, I know.
So excited.
I know. Sunday. So our episodes will come out on Mondays.
That's right.
So that's exciting. Book spoiler section. If you don't want to know what you don't know, leave. Okay, this is what I'm so excited to talk to you about.
Okay. I feel like I caught something on Google that I didn't understand that might be this.
Oh.
Does it have to do with Justin Kirk?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I was like, I don't know what this means at all. And
I want to wait for Joanna to spoil me, not the internet.
I Exactly.
All right, the tale of the body thief.
Yeah.
Lestat and Raglan James switch bodies.
Yeah. Okay.
So
when, how, why? So Lestat is
Lestat
at
is
his
bored,
yeah.
and Raglan sort of tricks him into doing this.
Okay. So we should be assuming based on that the Raglan at the auction is actually Lestat.
You don't have that is not automatically
okay, but
based
that's
on the
theory.
timeline. However,
okay,
if you go back and rewatch that scene based on that,
yeah,
basically every time they say the Vampire Lestat, the camera cuts to Justin Kirk,
and he's like,
who, me?
Yeah.
He walks up the aisle with his head like tilted up in a very Sam Reed way, and then he twirls on his foot around in a very Sam Reed as Lestat way.
Yeah.
I not only think that is Lestat.
Yeah.
In Justin Kirk's body.
Yeah.
But I think Louis knows that that's Lestat based on the looks that Louis gives to Raglan inside of that scene.
He should be able to like sense him, right?
Yeah.
Based on their connection and like.
Well, but because he made him, they don't have like the psychic connection necessarily.
Yeah.
So like, but should Armand be able to tell? Does Armand know? You know, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know. But I definitely think so I do think Lestat is in the room.
Yeah.
I think Lestat could not resist showing up to his own funeral essentially.
Yes.
But he's in a mortal body. That's a mortal body, even though it's the personality, heart, mind of Lestat.
Okay.
So the tale of the body thief is sort of about Lestat trying to get that body, and no vampire will turn because of the events of what happens in Queen of the Damned, which I don't need to get into.
Yeah.
But like no vampire will turn him in that body to a vampire. So he's Lestat as a mortal.
Okay.
So is he after that blood because he can use his own blood to turn himself, I think.
Oh, interesting. But then will he be in Justin Kirk's body forever? He can't get Sam Reed's body back, or is this why we have a double?
This is why we have a double.
But the double is...
Because Lestat is put into I have not read this book.
Yeah.
I read 2 books in the last couple weeks. I did not read Tale of the Body Thief.
Yeah.
My understanding is that he gets put into a different mortal body. And I think the reason that they have put Sam Reed in this double body is so that they can, and he'll like fix his teeth and like grow his hair out.
He'll get some Invisalign
and
a little perm.
And so that they can have Sam Reed playing Lestat and not have to like cast another person to play him.
His eyes will change once he becomes a vampire.
Yeah, exactly.
Solved it.
Great. But it's really, I mean,
what about the 3 inches?
Oh, it's going to be tough. Lifts?
Well, he's packing a vodka bottle elsewhere. He's got plenty of inches to spare.
That's just really fun. This idea that like Lestat is actually in that scene.
Yeah.
And book readers know, but non-book readers or people who aren't Googling around don't know, you know. In terms of like faces in the crowd while performing.
Yeah.
That's how Magnus turned Lestat. Like he would come to Lestat's performance and sit in the audience and stare at him, and he was like enraptured by him and his performance. So this idea of seeing a face in the crowd is a very like his original trauma sort of, because it was quite traumatic. He described it in season 1, how he was turned, and I presume we'll see it in this season. But like
his transformation trauma.
His transformation trauma.
Yeah.
But yeah, Magnus was a face in the crowd. And the way he described like the long face. I don't know if that's necessarily about Magnus, but like it's similar to the way it's described in the book. There's sort of like the dark pits of his eyes and the way his face is. And Lelio, he is performing as Lelio when Magnus comes to the theater to turn him. So that's like a very like specific to his origin story, his trauma inside of that.
What about the wolves?
The wolves. He killed 8 wolves when he was immortal.
Just with his
and he wears a coat. He wears a coat that has wolf fur on it. The wolf killer coat.
Not nice.
And Magnus calls him wolf killer. I think he might refer to himself as wolf killer as well, but Magnus calls him wolf killer.
That sounds like Lestat.
Hot. The killer tattoo.
Yeah. We got that real, like, look at that.
Okay, so in the books, Baby Jenks is a vampire already at 14. She's a member of the Fang Gang.
Okay.
She's not a vampire here because Lestat would know. She's immortal.
Right.
A mortal, but perhaps she's about to be transformed.
Okay.
Killer is Bruce, who is the vampire who assaulted Claudia.
Oh.
So
okay. Oh, okay.
Is that plot line going to be brought into here as the regional vampires? Is that how we as I know Delaney's in this season, the actress who plays Claudia. So I know I assumed I thought it was gonna be like flashback.
Right.
But like, how are they going to use her? And then is that a way to get like Louis into this story? Because of his feelings about that and stuff like that. But like, so her like, I'm getting married. Like, it feels very like the Gorch's Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Like, is she going to get married to Bruce? And is that going to be the continuation of that story?
Ooh, disturbing.
Yeah. Should I not have ended on that note? Remember how Justin Kirk is probably Lestat? That's so fun. And again, that's why you cast Justin Kirk for that role, so that you can get an actor who can like study Sam Reed and like do his mannerisms, but as Justin Kirk. Really fun.
Love it. Sad we only have 6 episodes left.
I know. I don't know how much of Queen of the Damned we're going to get this season. Like as you said, they've cast the actress.
Right. So will that just be, will that be the rebrand for like next season? We'll get like an introduction
a Queen of the Damned
season.
And then are we going to get a Tale of the Body Thief season? Are they just going to do each book as a season or what? I don't know.
What if they start putting Cole in a Star Wars story after all of these rebrands?
Anne Rice's Immortal Universe presents Queen of the Damned,
a Star Wars story.
A Lestat and Louis story.
I love it. I love it.
All right. Well, we did it.
So what a joy.
I'm really excited to do this show with you.
Same. I can't wait.
I'm excited to overheat in this coat every week. I was going to say,
so will you be, what's the strategy?
My wolf killer coat?
Are you taking it, like, is it joining you on the commute? Are you keeping it here?
No, it'll be over there by the furry that we made Kai wear for the Prestige TV podcast. Incredible. It'll be here waiting for me.
I would say, like, aren't you afraid that it could be, like, someone could abscond with it? But the fact that the furry remains
still there
for months on end.
The furry, which is
you can put it on our little rack of murder.
I would never dare to mess with the set deck. I don't think anyone wants this coat. I don't think anyone's stealing it.
Absolutely wonderful.
Thank you so much.
I love it.
Goes all the way down to the floor. Okay. Thank you to Jacob Cornett. Thank you for the Giles stickers. Carlos Chiriboga, Scott Lee, Arjuna Runka-Powell, Jomi Adeniran.
Squad. Our own
anyone
fan
else
gang.
who helped. Our own fan gang. Thank you so much to vampires.
Yeah, sure.
To vodka bottles.
I mean, yeah, quite.
To Torval and Dean and to Mallory Rubin. We'll see you soon. Bye.